championship if you score in all likelihood. And perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner, and he did not get there. Jared McVay raced him to the pylon and made sure he came up inches short.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Lefty from Australia, second oldest player in college football, kicks it back there, and that punt is blocked, and Oklahoma State falls right at the 5-yard line. Gray gives a huge gift to Oklahoma State.
Sikkim 365 Radio's live coverage from Big 12 Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington is presented by Three Nations Brewing Company. Respect tradition. We make great beer with new innovative brewing techniques, and you can find Three Nations beers anywhere where premium craft beer is sold.
Corral on 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Also brought to you by IdealMRI.com, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Waco Custom Marketplace, Boozer's Jewelers, Stonewood Dental, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Petty Clinic Low T, Pioneer Steel and Pipe, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat.
Daniels flushed. Daniels, end zone, caught! Kansas wins it! Jared Casey, the hero, and the Jayhawks find a way.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Well, there has been so much that's been going on since the Big 12 championship game occurred in this stadium back in early December, and that game that had the dramatic finish with Baylor and Oklahoma State with Jared McVay in the 1-inch line. So much has happened. That's where we are again today. Big 12 Media Days began earlier today when the commissioner, Brett Yormark, was introduced by Dr. Linda Livingstone. The president at Baylor, Bob Bowlesby, was here with a few comments as well. We're going to bring to you interviews throughout the show today. Some of them we did earlier in the day as the day has progressed, and some of them we will have live. Craig Smoak is here. Craig, the new commissioner, Brett Yormark, we didn't get a lot from him, and we will get our time with him ourselves at some point. Anything that he said that, in fact, stood out to you more than anything else?
I guess, like you said, there was I don't know, it was kind of strange because he's not officially starting until August the 1st. So he had to repeat that a few times, and it also led to some pretty specific questions kind of getting pushed to the side and not really getting answered as fully as you would like because he's not technically on the job yet.
Right,
and he hasn't really started, and he hasn't even had conversations with all of the parties involved just yet. So, for one, you have to take that into consideration that he's not working with the full meal deal right now. He's working at probably about a quarter of what he's going to be working with by the time the end of the month starts. But, yeah, certainly his thoughts on the Big 12 being open for business, as he put it, in every way, shape, and form. And not only when it comes to the ever-popular topic of expansion, but when it comes to Oklahoma and Texas exit, he's open for business. When it comes to adding teams, he's open for business. When it comes to making big-time deals or thinking outside of the box and doing things differently in order to, earn money for the conference, he's open for business. I think that should be his tagline to start off with, open for business. And if you are a part of any of those things that I just mentioned, it sounds like you can have a conversation with him, and he's going to listen to you and, maybe make a deal with you. And that includes Oklahoma and Texas, who, he's got asked about that probably more than anything initially because it was Austin guys and Norman guys that were, wanted to ask about that. And I think he got their hopes up a little bit by saying open for business, but also later on saying, but obviously we're going to do what's best for the Big 12 Conference.
Yeah.
The open for business thing to me, which is kind of all-encompassing in so many ways of all the topics that we'll probably discuss here, that was what stood out.
Well, in fact, we have that. This is the comment. Brett Yormark earlier, he has an entire press conference, and we will at some point, whether it's today or tomorrow while we're here for a couple of days, have a chance one-on-one with him. But here's the open for business.
Nice to meet you as well. As I said in my opening comments, we're exploring all options, and we're open for business. And optionality is good, and we're vetting through all of them. I think it's fair to say I've received a lot of phone calls, a lot of interest. People understand the direction of the Big 12, and we're exploring those levels of interest. Nothing is imminent, but we're working hard to make sure that we position the Big 12 in the best possible way on a go.
All right, so that is again, Brett Yormark. Now, one thing he said, and initially it caught my attention, in fact, a couple of others that are from the cover schools that are a part of the Big 12 will be around. When he was asked about Texas and Oklahoma, whatever the transition, and he said, I'm into making deals that are win-win. And that kind of caught my attention initially, but then that, as Craig said, he followed up with, but it has to be in the best interest of our conference.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when Oklahoma and Texas got brought up by, I don't even know who asked the question initially, but I'd imagine it was probably a guy from Austin. I would think so, because I know Brian Davis was asking questions and a couple of other Austin reporters we know. But regardless, I mean, whoever was bringing the topic up, yeah, you could see kind of eyes go big in a, oh, really kind of way when he mentioned being open for business and being willing to discuss. And then you saw them kind of lower again back to some normalcy when he said, but we're going to do what's best for the Big 12 overall. Because I think they felt like maybe a door had been opened.
Yep.
And maybe the door's cracked open. The door's not closed on them exiting early. But the way I read it overall, it's really interesting being here today because you get to see up close and personal, and it's really interesting. You read social media, you don't know exactly what people are going off of all the time. Like, you just know they were at a press conference, but you didn't hear the press conference. You just read what they had to say. And then you're like here in person today, and you're listening to the press conference, and then you see other people reporting on said press conference and how they took it differently than you took certain things,
yep, or
how things are spun a certain way that they really didn't sound that way at all. And there was definitely some of that today. I think that involved a little bit of the OU Texas stuff. But, yeah, I mean, he's open for business, and he seems to be a guy with a fun personality, somebody who's obviously accomplished a lot, and somebody who's really gung-ho, it sounds like, to get started, but also is very well aware of just what challenges lie ahead and what they're facing. And that's expansion, that's NIL, that's OU in Texas, that's welcoming in the 4 new schools. That's a variety of different things. So he didn't really dive deep on anything because he's not in a position to really dive deep yet. But he did touch on pretty much everything that you would want to hear him at least discuss as best as he can.
From everything from TV to media rights to branding to thinking outside the box to doing everything. Jay-Z. And again, he's also handcuffed a little bit because his first day is August 1st. But we do know his first day was when they introduced him, and then his first day when Dr. Livingstone even said, she called him when the USC-UCLA story broke and said, welcome to the life, or welcome to the life in college athletics, and you thought covering or being a part of working with Jay-Z and Rock Nation was exciting. And like he even admitted, he goes, it was kind of a uh-oh moment, and then at the same time he looked at it and kind of wanted to take it head on, which I like that as well. And again, right now, just talking, let's see the actions as we go down the road. Here is what we have for today. There's a good chance here in the next few minutes, and hopefully within the 5 or 10 minutes here, that Kansas State head football coach Chris Climan will drop by if he can. No matter what, Dylan Doyle, Baylor linebacker at 3:30 today. Our conversation, Craig and I had a chance to sit down with Baylor's Dave Aranda in a very lengthy interview that will run today at 4 o'clock. We'll also hear from Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee. He will join us. That also was done from earlier today, and he has a lot to talk about with where they are, where they've been, and where they hope to be. And even answered some questions that I had that maybe you as fans of college football wanted to ask as well. So Yormark introduced. He's been roaming around. He's also tucked away at times, probably taking phone calls. Dr. Linda Livingstone of Baylor, in fact, have that ready, Garrett. She was a part of the introduction of Yormark, but she even, in the question and answer with Yormark, she had to kind of get off the stage for just a little bit to take a call that was important at 9 o'clock. Whatever that call was, I don't know, but we had a chance to visit with her. In fact, here is Dr. Lizovic, 5 minutes. This is after Dave Aranda spoke, and she was with a group of media. And here's Dr. Livingstone about the Big 12, about the transition, about money, about everything.
Yeah, Baylor's going to be at the forefront. Once Texas and OU are gone, you guys already are showing up on the field. How big is it for you to actually have to also show up at the box office and at the cash register, because this is business?
Well, college athletics has become really big business, and we all recognize that and know that. And, I think what we're trying to do as individual schools and as a conference is position ourselves extremely well, both competitively, brand-wise, particularly as we prepare for the next media rights negotiation, to be a really strong conference out there. And it starts with how you perform athletically and then how you build that brand. So I feel great about what we're doing at Baylor. I feel great about what's happening across the conference. I think we're going to be really well positioned.
As a student athlete, that sometimes coaches think about self-interest. And I'm talking about your quarterback decision.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches would have waited until fall to make sure you didn't have a transfer situation. What does that say about Dave, you think, that he came out and did that in the spring?
Well, you could tell just listening to him how painful that was for him, how personally difficult that was for him, because he thinks so much of Gary and Blake, of course, too. So, I just think it shows what a quality person he is, how much he cares about his players, and that he's trying to do what's in their best interest and set them up to be successful. And if they can do that at Baylor, that's fabulous. But if he knows that's not going to be the case, to help them to position themselves somewhere else. And so you have to give him a lot of credit for that, the integrity that shows in him doing what was best for the player.
Do you buy into the idea that he's a little out of the box when it comes to traditional coaches?
Well, I think that's a pretty good description. We love Dave. He's got such a good heart, and he's such a deep thinker. As you could tell listening to him, it's so much for him as he prepares his players about what's going on up here in their head, as much as it is what's happening with them physically. And almost all his answers ultimately got back to what was going on in their hearts and in their heads. And so I don't think you hear that as much from other coaches. So we love that about Dave. It's a wonderful fit with Baylor and who we are as a faith-based institution.
When you talk about, obviously, brand, and the Big 12 brand is a big part of what's going on. With Brett Yormark, how did he come on the radar? I mean, obviously, I think I've heard a lot of people say when they heard his name, they had to go Google him to see who he was. So, how did you guys come to him, and how did that kind of evolve?
Well, we worked with the search firm Turnkey ZRG, and they did a lot of listening within the conference to understand what our challenges were, what our opportunities were, what we were looking for. And then, they'd done the ACC and the Pac-12 search, so they kind of knew the landscape really well of college athletics, and frankly had vetted a lot of people over time for these different roles. And as they pulled together a pool of candidates for us, given what we said we were looking for, it was an unbelievably strong pool. I think it showed the interest in the conference, the confidence in the conference. There were great internal people with collegiate experience, but then there were also some really great external. And ultimately, Brett rose to the top because, we could tell that with his experience in professional sports, in sponsorships, in media, in entertainment, given where college athletics is going and all the changes taking place with our media rights negotiation coming up, that Brett, in combination with the really strong athletic directors we have across the conference, would be a great combination to position us really well for the future.
How much can the Big 12 take? They continually seem to be in a position where there's a little bit of uncertainty the last 10 or 12 years.
Well, I think it's shown that we're an unbelievably resilient conference, and that we, every time we face a difficult situation, we come out really strong and on top. And I think we showed that last year. And I think as we kind of go through this transition, whatever it ultimately ends up looking like, we'll come out in a really good position going forward. But I think it's just the resilience and the commitment of the people in the conference to continue to work together and position us well for the future.
Do you worry about college athletics becoming too big?
I think that we got to continue to remember that this is all about our student athletes, and they are students first and then athletes. And so I think we have to be really mindful as we also recognize the business side of what we're doing and the importance of that these are young men and women that we're working with, and we've got to continue to look at how is this impacting them and how are we helping them to navigate this as well. And so I think it's complicated, but every industry changes, and we have to adapt as our industry changes, just like every other one does.
All right, that's Dr. Linda Livingstone. She introduced Brett Yormark today. She was on the podium with Bob Bowlesby, who was there as well. And some comments about many things as she was off to the side after the press conference with Dave Aranda. And there is a chance that Chris Climan is on his way over here. I hope it's us. It could be ESPN. If either way, we'll make that work. Thank you, all of you who have already jumped on the chat today and a lot of the comments and feedback that you've given us. Biscuits and Gravy, yet another super chat. Thank you. Like the button if you can. Subscribe if you can. And anything in particular with what Dr. Livingstone brought up that caught your attention. And most of that was, and I will say this. In my conversation with her after that, I don't get any feeling whatsoever. And she's not on what is, I guess you could call the expansion group that's looking for whatever they're going to do, the Big 12. If there's even such a thing as far as that group. She doesn't feel like there's anything that's imminent. Now, again, we never know in college athletics, but she doesn't feel like there's anything at this moment that is imminent when it comes to anything Big 12 or the conference itself.
What do you mean, Big 12 or the conference itself?
The expansion. Anything going ahead other than what they're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's great that she used the word imminent, the same word that Brett Yormark used, right? Nothing imminent. Did he use that?
Yep, he did.
Okay. And that's all fine. And I mean, I don't know Brett Yormark well enough to really have any sort of a temperature gauge on him. Linda Livingstone know well enough to have great confidence in the type of a leader that she is. But I think any college officials really saying anything about nothing being imminent or whatever, I'm just going to take that in one ear and let it fly out the other. They may be 100% stone cold truthful as all get out. But it's college athletics, and we see how things change by the hour, much less by the days or by the weeks, by the months. I did say a couple days ago that I thought it felt as though things were going to slow down a little bit because it's kind of what happened, with what happened with USC and UCLA. It's kind of what happened with Oklahoma and Texas last year. Yes, at the lower levels, so to speak, there was a lot of movement that was ongoing in the aftermath of that. But then the season rolled around, right? And it kind of just stalled out a little bit because everybody had to change their focus. And I think, we're a couple weeks away from fall practices starting. So I think a lot of the focus is going to be on football. But I don't know. In this environment, I don't have any info or anything like that to oh, no, something's coming around the corner. But I don't buy that, them saying nothing's imminent means that nothing's actually imminent. And I don't think that they're lying. I just think you can't really predict that kind of a thing in this day and age nearly as much as maybe you used to.
From the 213, and we'll break here. Beef jerky in a younger, hipper, cooler Big 12, question mark. Somebody is confused. He might want to take a look at the culture after he visits those 14 schools, which he said he was going to do in the first couple of months on the job. More beef jerky and less younger, hipper, and cooler would be a good guess. Nothing cool about 107-degree heat. He'll learn this is not Jay-Z's backyard. So that's from the 213, who at times does kind of look at things a little different, but we appreciate the feedback as well.
Yeah, it's a 72 in Jerry's world.
Yeah.
Very hot outside, but it's nice and cozy in here. Even with all the bodies that were here earlier, it's thinned out a little bit from what it was when the press conferences were going on. But, I brought up the whole thing with him and knowing the lay of the land. And, you said, well, Matt Rule didn't know Baylor and Waco, Texas when he first arrived. And, yeah, I'll give you that. But it wasn't really so much my point is that you can't learn it. But, to not really have a great grasp on what the Big 12 is. And it doesn't have to be what it's always been because that's why they're in the position they're in.
Right.
You need somebody new. But you also need to have, some of the same wavelength. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like...
Well, then you hire other people like Matt Rule did that have that
So
wavelength.
I'm sure that's what will happen. But as of now, he's only got one employee that he's bringing over, and it's his assistant. That's what we did learn today. And everybody else is already in-house and has been here. And so I'm sure some of that will change as well. But, yeah, I think the visits to the schools is going to be very important, which he's going to do over the coming weeks. He's going to go to every campus and visit and get to know their people and get to know the lay of the land, so to speak. And I'm sure he'll have a much better idea of all of that once that wraps up.
By the way, there were a couple of groups here today. UCF had a contingent here. Also, Brigham Young, Brett Pine
What's up, UCF?
was here. Yeah.
What's up, UCF?
Yep. Brett Pine was also here from Brigham Young and others. In fact, he's over at the TCU campus with meetings there.
Oh, yeah.
So the incoming group, they're pretty excited about being here a year from now. Also, this is one more text. We'll break. I keep saying that, but I want to get this in. From Joel, new commissioner, sometimes you can just look and listen to a person and get how they are. This guy clearly is serious, with a lot of energy, able to massage negotiations. You can tell he's not going to let tradition or what has been done get in the way of what he thinks should be done for the future.
I agree with that. I don't think he's like some kind of hard ass, but I just think he's very smooth and operating in the business world, and I do think that's going to come in handy for every beef jerky joke or whatever. I do think you're going to see him bring some sponsors on board that can bring some more money to the conference. He mentioned he'll use his Rockefeller ties to, if they can get Jay-Z or something, and I know that's like probably the most off the wall thing, but if they can get Meek Mill in here, at the halftime of the Big 12 championship game just to make it a little cooler, then I think that's the route he'll go. And that's not traditional Big 12, but again, traditional Big 12 has led us to this point where for the billionth time they're undergoing another revamp because schools are leaving. So having a fresh set of eyes, having a fresh outlook, and changing things up a little bit, I think will bode well. And I am feeling a lot better after hearing him speak today. I need to see actually some action on those words. But for starters, I do think to that Texter's point that he's going to be good as far as that goes.
When we come back, we don't know if it'll be Chris Climan or something else, but we also know in this hour that Baylor linebacker Dylan Doyle will join us. We also had a chance to visit earlier with linebacker Bryson Jackson. He will join us as well. Dave Aranda, and yes, 22 minutes or so with Dave Aranda on everything possible. Plus, we'll hear from Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, and his thoughts about where they are now, which is stuck until the next 3 or 4 years. But they have the clock ticking. They have to start figuring out what to do after that. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports Live. Thanks to Three Nations Brewery. Thanks to John Royers. Live from AT&T Stadium. We do it now? Yeah, let's go. Okay, hold on. We will wait because we would rather do this. We would much rather do this, and we appreciate that. Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate that. We're not joined by Kansas State football coach Chris Climan. Great to have you on. You saved us from going to a commercial break. We'll push that back. It's kind of like an official's review. How you doing, man? How's your summer?
It's great. It's football season now. Once you get to media days, we got a couple more weeks to enjoy ourselves, but the guys are working hard, and there's a lot of energy around the Big 12, that's for sure. How and what do you do, if you do, to get away and decompress away from being a head football coach? You really can't. Okay. You do the best you can and shut it down for a day here and there. The biggest thing for me is getting out of the office, and if I'm in town somehow, I'm going to end up in the office. So whether it's getting out of town on a golf trip, going and seeing family, or just getting away with my wife, just trying to get away for a few days here and there to just try to decompress and recharge your batteries, because we all know it's a grind once you get started here come August 1st. Are you spending more time now on off-the-field stuff than ever before? I mean, as far as just the NIL pieces and the realignment rumors because that comes into play when you're talking to recruits and whatnot. Is there a lot more time spent on things outside of football than maybe in years past? Yeah, a ton more. And not just, roster management in general. And when I say roster management, being around your players as often as you can and building a relationship with somebody. There's 125 guys roughly on our team. Can you connect with everyone every day? No, but you need to try to connect with those kids. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's something that you say to that kid that's going to get him through a tough time. And just always building so that you're not losing and revamping your roster, because that's, if they didn't get rid of the 25 initials, all of us would have been in some problems, I'm assuming, as far as can you get to 85? And now we have the ability to try to get to 85. And so between that and all the new rules that, I know Shane Lyons is here he's been on some committees, and Gene's talking to him, RAD. What new rules are coming out? When are they going to come into play? I mean, control what you can control, but it's going to change. Mm-hmm. You have a unique team. You have more players in the preseason All Big 12 team than any other team, no matter who they were. That says quite a bit because you have really good talent. That doesn't matter because you still have to win the game. But you seem to have a really nice team coming back. Would you agree? Well, it's been a work in progress. We got here in 2019, and now we're 3+ years into this, going into our 4th season. I knew it was going to take some time to adjust some of the things that were our style. Bill did a great job, and we have all the facilities because of Coach Snyder and what he has done, but you still have to put your own spin on things. And so for us, we're finally at that stage where I feel like our locker room's as strong as it's ever been. They're pushing each other as players. They're holding each other accountable to the high standard on a daily basis of the expectations of doing it the Kansas State way, which is their way as leaders. And we're developing guys. And that's all these guys that are all conference have been in our program either 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. And that's how, you look at some of the teams that have been really good, whether it was Oklahoma State, last year to Iowa State. You got older kids, and that's hard to do, but we've got to try to continue to keep veteran kids and have them stay.
You've, I'm sure, been asked about Adrian Martinez a little bit. I'm sure you've been asked about Deuce Vaughn and guys that littered that preseason All-Big 12 team. Who is maybe a player or players that are not being talked about enough in your mind?
Well, 2 kids that are here. Daniel Green is a great inside linebacker. Eli Huggins is a great nose tackle. Eli split time last year with another really good kid, Timmy Horn, that we brought in as a transfer. Well, Eli's going to play more football for us this year, play more snaps, and Daniel Green are phenomenal players. And then the other one that doesn't get talked about enough, but people in the league know who he is, and that's Julius Brents. He's 6'3", he's 215 pounds, and he's a shutdown corner. You don't find those kids a whole lot coming to Kansas State. And he transferred from Iowa in a very similar situation to Adrian. Iowa didn't want to lose him, but the kid was looking for another opportunity to go play and not be a role guy, but be the guy. And we were able to land him here, and he's had a really good year last year, and I think he's going to have an All-Big 12 type season this year.
You said something that made me come up with a question. You see this day and age, there's this arms race for bigger, more money, all this stuff. If Kansas State had what some of the logo schools so-called have, that extra money or more and more and more, it wouldn't change who you were or are, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Just build us a bigger airport that more flights can fly into. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because we have great facilities. We're building a brand new indoor that is phenomenal. That'll be done at Thanksgiving this year, and it'll give us another great thing for recruiting, as well as 200-yard fields side by side with one being a lighted field, one being an indoor. But we tell people all the time, Kansas State's really a hidden gem. Manhattan, Kansas is a hidden gem, but you got to get here and see it. And that 16 months where we lost, where kids couldn't go to our place, and then when they had a chance to come, it's easier to go to places right around the Metroplex and stuff, and it's a little harder to come to Manhattan. Now those kids are starting to come to Manhattan saying, holy cow, oh, you're building that? Wow, you've got that? And that's what our sell is right now. Plus, we've got a support staff and a coaching staff doing a great job of pounding kids through phone, Twitter, and everything else.
Is Manhattan, Kansas, though, really almost like a typical most college towns? It's just like you said, the access to get there can be tough?
Yeah, I would say that. And I haven't been in a lot of college towns.
Right.
Fargo, North Dakota is 300,000 people. And there's a lot of things going on there. Everything revolves around Kansas State University and around the athletics program, and that's something that's really unique. And our kids walk anywhere in the mall, and you could be the third team left tackle, or you could be Deuce Vaughn. You're going to get pulled by some kid and ask for an autograph or a picture, and that's pretty unique at Kansas State. And so I'm excited about this year, and I'm excited about what we have. We're on the right trajectory. We've got a lot more in us, but we're on the right trajectory.
Deuce Vaughn, I have to ask about him. I mean, I do the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, best player in the state of Texas, and he was a finalist, and he was there for the ceremony last year, and came up just short, but just tremendous player. Having him back, I mean, how exciting is that? And just what are you looking for in him? Because you've already seen so much. So what is kind of the message to Deuce heading into this year?
Well, for starters, I was at the Earl Campbell Award.
Yep.
What a great award that is, and well run, and so excited to be able to go down there and represent with Deuce and his family. He's stronger. He's a little heavier. He's got great balance anyway. He's understanding the game more about how ways people are trying to bracket cover him, or knowing who's coming on a blitz. And, okay, we check the play. The cerebral part of it, he's getting more and more comfortable with. We know people are going to stack him, try to stop him, but we've got a quarterback who really can run now. People forget Malik Knowles is back. The kid's a talented kid. Phillip Brooks is back. Cade Warner's back. We have a lot of pieces around him, and he's the type of kid that, hey, if I don't get my yards, don't get my carries, and we find a way to win, hey, let's go. I'm happy, because sooner or later they're going to have to shut those guys down, and then it's going to open up for me.
How has Adrian transitioned from, obviously he was an incredibly high-level recruit to Nebraska, and at times was brilliant. At times it just didn't work out. How have your team, how have they accepted him?
I credit Adrian an awful lot, simply because he didn't participate in spring ball this year from an injury he had at Nebraska. And rather than coming in saying, this is my team and here's how we're going to do things, he was kind of behind the scenes and just built relationships, built bonds, engaged with guys, went to lunch with guys, watched film with guys, because he wasn't practicing, wasn't doing some of those things. Then he practiced the last 2 practices of spring ball, and I think people went, oh boy, okay, now this kid can do this. And now watching him in the summer, he's infectious personality. He's a mature kid, and our guys really gravitate to him.
I feel like you could, and you have rattled off some of them, and you could go down the Big 12 preseason list, the standout names that you have, and now you add Adrian to that mix. So you knew coming in before Adrian that you were going to have a pretty good team, I would imagine, the way you finished last year. But when you got the word from him, he's going to be a Wildcat, what was your initial reaction?
Excitement, because we were looking for a bridge the gap guy for a year. We weren't looking for a 3-year transfer because we like the young quarterbacks in our program. Will Howard's still going to be a really good quarterback in this league. There's no question. Kid's played an awful lot of football, and he might still be a freshman in 2023. That's the crazy thing. Exactly right. But that's COVID.
Yeah.
But we knew we probably needed to add some veteran piece to that room without saying, Will, you're not good enough, or Jake Rubley or Jaron Lewis or anybody else. We have good, talented kids in that room. We just needed to add a little bit of experience to it, and Will be a great benefit from learning from Adrian for a year or two.
When I say Dave Aranda, what do you think?
He's so full. No.
That would have been good. But
he's become a really good friend.
Yeah, I could tell. I saw you guys having a conversation, and just the whole time, look,
just mutual respect for what we've done. We're both defensive-minded head coaches. I was so excited that he got an opportunity that, you didn't have to be a head coach for Baylor to take a chance on him. I was a head coach at Little North Dakota State that nobody thinks is worth a darn. And Gene Taylor said, no, you do it at that level, you can do it here. And so Gene took a chance on me. And so it takes an opportunity. People are saying, well, you're taking a chance on Colin Klein. Okay, I am. But some people you just need to give an opportunity to. And I think Dave got an opportunity, and I got an opportunity, and we share that bond with each other. And I think the same thing with Colin Klein. Why didn't you go out and get the hot shot guy at somewhere? Because I had a guy that was right in our program that has a legacy greater than all of us at K-State that deserved the opportunity. And I so appreciate people that worked their tail off for that opportunity.
With Colin and the weapons you have on offense and Adrian coming in, you look around the rest of the league and some of the moves offensively or the coaches in place. Very heavy defense last year. Still going to be some great defenses, but do you see a little bit of a change as far as the offenses and kind of the minds involved and more of the up-tempo passing the ball around?
Yeah, but there's some talented defensive kids in this league, and you still, if you can rush the quarterback, I don't care how good that scheme is, and there's some really freak show athletes on the defensive line across this league, and really good defensive-minded people. Oklahoma State took it to a really great level last year. I think Dave's done a great job at Baylor. That's the great thing about this league. You can't just say I got a great offense and have a bad defense, or a great defense and a poor offense, and think you're going to win the league. It takes balance, and we're trying to get that balance, as well as, we need to win games on special teams. We spend a ton of time on special teams, and maybe it's a return or something, or a punt that's pinned inside the 5 that's going to make a difference.
I think Bill Snyder's teams were always great with special teams.
They absolutely were.
They went from trying to be just a bowl team, and it took them to the next level, and they got to the point where they were amazing.
Yeah, and we've tried to pick that up where he left off, and have been really good, either leading the country in kick returns or punt returns, and it flips the field. It's so demoralizing. We blocked, I think it was 4 or 5 punts during the pandemic year, returned 4 kickoffs last year for touchdowns. It's game-changing things, but you got to put the time in and emphasize it.
Hidden yardage. Hitting yardage.
You're exactly right.
We appreciate you were with us last year to start off our show the first day. You're here again. We appreciate Kenny for bringing you over here. Good luck, man. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for having me, guys.
And we got a lot of Big 12 fans that listen. K-State fans are fired up. I don't know if you can tell or not, but they are looking forward to this year.
Yeah,
no, they are, and it's going to be a great season with a great league, and I'm excited as heck.
You like Jerome Tang?
He's awesome. Isn't Jerome?
Yeah.
He doesn't have any energy, does
he?
No,
none.
Holy cow.
You better be wide awake when he sees you wherever you see him.
Yep, and I've spoken to Dave, and I've spoken to Matt Rule. He wants to call some stuff, and he's going to be at that practice and give me the script, and I'll call it.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me,
Thank you, Kenny. Chris Climan, again, head coach at Kansas State with us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and we're going to keep it here this almost entire first hour with what we have coming. Dylan Doyle, Baylor linebacker, will join us here momentarily. Colin Klein, as their offensive coordinator, is the mentality that you can see that Chris Climan wants in his football team, too, because that's the kind of team that Klein, of course, the Baylor tie into that was the goal line stand back in, 2012. The goal line stand when Baylor beat then number 1 ranked Kansas State at Floyd Casey Stadium.
Yeah, I mean that's a legend coming back to his home to help guy. We've seen that go well. We've seen that go bad. We're seeing that in Lincoln, Nebraska right now not go so well, right?
Yep.
But as far as what he said, I mean, who's going to know better than Chris Climan on why he made that decision? It's just cool to hear him, break it down, and the excitement that's evident. Even if he's not screaming and yelling, you can still sense the excitement sitting next to somebody, and I could tell there's a little bit of a feel good with him bringing up Colin Klein because we didn't even have to, So he's the one that brought him up initially, and it's going to be fun to see how he works that offense with Adrian Martinez and just how explosive they can be because he mentions guys like Malik Knowles in addition to the Deuce Vaughns of the world, and then what Martinez has talent-wise. It's not a question of the talent; it's a question of the decision-making and the ball security. So if he can maintain all of the good parts and just improve a little bit on the parts that haven't been so good. I mean, they're going to make a case for being a very, very good football team on both sides of the ball.
Well, we have had the day with Chris Climan, Kansas State coach. We've heard from President Dr. Linda Livingstone a little bit today, and now Baylor linebacker Dylan Doyle joins us, 365 Sports. Man, you look dapper. You wear a suit very often outside of maybe. Do you guys get dressed up for road games or how's that? What's the deal?
Yeah, so game day we wear suits.
That's what I thought.
They really hook us up with we get 2 suits our first year in the program and then 1 every year after. So and then I'm in the MBA program at Baylor. So quick shout out to that program. They've done an awesome job prepping me for professional settings. So. Thankful for all that.
I'm curious, what neck size are you?
Like 18,
That's
I
a
think.
big,
yeah, 18 or 18
I
and a
can
half.
see that.
Yeah.
How quickly did you flush last year, not the memories or the excitement, but immediately turn the page, and how hard is that sometimes to do?
Yeah, it's really hard, and I think that's the difficulty of that is probably directly correlated to the enjoyment and the strength of the relationships. From last year because, it's really hard to kind of just turn the page from, being with Jalen Petrie every day, being with JT, being with Jaron, Terrell, all those dudes. Like, it's hard to turn the page on that because, you love those guys so much and you love all that we accomplished. But, we're 7 months out from that. And we definitely recognize that we have to be ready to play. And so I think throughout the spring, we worked on turning the page, but I think the page is turned now, and we're ready to go, and we're going to be ready for fall camp when that time comes.
Having said that, when you walked into this building today, was this your first time since the Big 12 title game, and was there a little bit of a little reminiscing, just being back here?
Yeah, this is the first time, but obviously a little bit different setup.
Yeah, just slightly.
Quite a few more people on the field this time.
Right.
And, yeah, I mean, it is cool. It is cool. This is a beautiful stadium. Like, they've done an unbelievable job here. And I can't imagine there's a lot better places to play than here. I mean, maybe like SoFi in L.A., but, yeah, it's beautiful.
We're trying to figure out, was it this end zone or that end zone?
One?
It's all the same to me. I don't know.
See, we couldn't figure it out either.
Like the Oklahoma State, a couple Oklahoma State stations over here, they weren't real thrilled about it being this close. They were like, man, this is like a nightmare.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of guys who are now playing at a different level, and some have moved on with whatever they're going to do.
Yep.
And then you and others who have had a very successful career. What's it like now to be leaned on even more?
It's special. I mean, you grow up kind of wanting to lead. At least I did. I mean, it's certainly special to lead, but we hit a lot on servant leadership, and that's a big part of our Christian mission at Baylor. And I mean, not to get into spirituality or anything like that, but that is a big kind of pillar of our program is making sure that those dudes that you're leading have the resources necessary to grow and kind of maximize their role. And so I think a good example of that would be, recently we're working on learning the playbook and really teaching those young guys. So a couple guys that I really want to shout out are Michael Allen and Kyler Jordan. They've been in, they're both freshmen. They've been, in the film room every day with me, just trying to learn the playbook, trying to maximize their roles. And who knows what those roles will be, but really proud of the way they're attacking their roles.
Bryson Jackson brought that up. He said you usually have a group of 8 to 10 guys that are kind of following you around or meet you in the film room or whatever. That's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a blessing to have that responsibility, and I don't take that lightly because that is the future of our program. And I think great leaders kind of plant seeds to trees that they'll never see the fruit of, and that's a big part of my leadership. Is leaving the program better than I found it and leaving the jersey in a better place.
What was it like to maybe look around the first time and not see Petey and Bernard and Barnes and JT and et cetera? I mean, was that a little strange? And is it still a little strange, or is that kind of gone away at this point?
I think probably the first practice, it's hey, this is kind of weird. I'm used to this dude calling the play out next to me, so I would know what the play was. But I mean, it is, guys are growing into their roles. So, I mean, Matt Jones did a great job through spring ball. And just to name a few other names, Apuika, I mean, Mark Milton has stepped into a leadership role, Al Walcott, TJ Franklin, just really proud of those guys. Gabe Hall, they've all worked really, really hard. So,
you played in the Big Ten, and now you've been. This is your second year, I guess. Second year, yeah, with third year in the Big 12. Out there's this discussion about realignment. It won't affect you.
Yeah, right.
But you played in both conferences, and there's this they're better, these SEC and Big Ten, mainly because of the money. What's the difference between where you were, and I know the Big Ten has monstrous schools and great schools, but what's the difference in your opinion?
It's just a different style of football. I wouldn't necessarily comment on the quality of the football just because you see teams play each other, and they're I don't think there's necessarily a great correlation between conference and out-of-conference wins. So I think there is a level of parity there in college football, but certainly different styles that you face. So I'll give the example when we went up to Wisconsin when I was at Iowa, you have to be ready for 22 personnel. So that's 2 backs, 2 tight ends. You don't see a lot of that in the Big 12. And it's even on base downs. It's not even just short yardage. It's, okay, I formation, these wings are trading, they're motioning back. You're going to get a dividing tight end. You're going to get pullers all the time. But the Big 12 is much more of a quick pass game. It's becoming more of a 12 personnel league. So 1 back, 2 tight ends, and I really like that. Just personally from my style of play, I really like that kind of big boy football, if you want to call it that. Just the more bodies that teams bring in into the box, it kind of resembles a little bit more of the Big Ten, and so you look at Iowa State, and they have started to do that. That's become kind of their identity. We started to do quite a bit of that, and I think the league will continue to evolve. And as a fan of college football, I'm super excited to see what the coordinators think of next.
As a fan of college football, how much talk is there just in the locker room on you got to know all the different stories that are swirling around, whether it be the NIL stuff or its expansion, realignment, everything like that. How much do you guys just talk about just college football as fans, or are you so consumed as players that it's maybe hard to do sometimes?
Personally, I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I've had to just talk to different personalities. Like, for example, when you guys were on with
Coach Climan.
With Coach Climan, I just shook hands with Sam Acho, and I was like, this is super cool. Like, I've seen you on TV. Like, I want to talk to you. And he was like, yeah, let's set up a Zoom call. And I'm like, this is sweet. Like, like, I'm a fan of college football. Like, this is awesome. So I think just taking advantage of those opportunities. Like, I have favorite players, like anybody, that I watch on tape. Like, I'll watch Bijan on tape, and I'll be like, I love how he runs the football. Like, he has big playability, like, all these things. And I got a little bit different challenges to face than the other fans that watch him. I got to try and stop him.
Hey, I like Bijan too. I don't have to tackle him though.
So kind of just I'm just so appreciative of those guys' abilities and their journeys, and I want to recognize those journeys because I said it in an interview over there. I view football as a positive-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not there's winners and losers. It's everybody is better because we've played college football and because we've kind of interacted with each other.
I don't know this for sure. Have you ever not been able to play? Was there a time at all where you couldn't play because of an injury or anything like that?
Yeah, so I haven't been out for a game before, but actually on that last drive of the Big 12 title game, I tore my MCL.
No,
and
okay.
I finished the game.
No, okay.
So I didn't practice for the Sugar Bowl. I probably got 2 practices in, and you guys saw me with the knee brace in the game.
What was it like to miss it? Or you have not missed games, thank goodness.
Right,
but
right.
Did you kind of?
Yeah, injury definitely brings a different perspective. I mean, it makes you appreciate the time that you have out there. And I always try to approach every game like it's my last, and play with that intensity and that mindset that hey, like I should be grateful for what I'm getting today. But it is a little bit different when you're off the field. It makes you a lot more thankful for kind of the grind that you go through because it is hard. Like playing college football is definitely hard, but it's a blessing too. Mm-hmm. Like you should be thankful for going through those tough times because other people would love to go through those tough times that you're going through to get what you get.
Is your knee okay now?
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
You pointed to that end zone. So I think it was that end zone. I think we were trying to determine all day which end zone it was.
No idea.
Yeah. So none of us. But you pointed there, so maybe just underneath you realize it's that one. So we'll roll with that one. But
I think there's like a garage set up somewhere, and I think that would be a good point of reference.
Okay.
I think it's in that corner.
All right. Well, there you have it.
That's something you would have to look at.
We need to get that straight.
You get that, Jack? He was right. Yeah, we had a whole debate over this.
Okay.
So Dylan Doyle settled it. There you go.
Okay.
It was that end zone.
Awesome. This is something where you're here, you're representing the football team, the program, the university. You're here for a reason because they feel like you're a great representation. You've talked about that as a football player, as a person, as what Baylor football is about. Well, that's pretty cool because they choose who they want here to replace, not just because you're a good football player, but they choose people who represent the university.
Yeah.
And how important is that to you?
I mean, obviously I want to paint the university in a positive light, but I'm here representing 100 other dudes that I feel like could do just as good of a job as me, just because of the culture that we're trying to build at Baylor. I'm really proud of the culture that we built last year, but culture is kind of an organic thing that is always changing and ever evolving, and so you have to build that up again. And so that's been the work this offseason, and going to continue doing that through camp.
Vicente Gonzalez, I'm a Texas fan living in Iowa. Doyle, Iowa native. I root for the Hawks when I'm not watching the Horns. A lot of Iowa friends miss him after talking with them last season. That's on our YouTube channel. Just someone from Iowa that said hi.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
What's it been like to see Blake Shapen kind of have those reins and, hey, these are your reins now? Mm-hmm. Gary did a great job, but he's obviously transferred. But what have you seen from Blake now, having been crowned and knowing that he's the guy?
Yeah, very thankful for Gary. The leadership that he brought and just that daily preparation was fantastic. And so thankful for Gary and happy that he's found a place that he's happy. I've called him. I think I've texted him a couple times. So very proud of him, very happy for him. But with that being said, I mean, everybody was confident that the coaches were going to make the right decision. And so very excited for Blake because he got the opportunity to learn from the back seat last year, and this year he'll be able to show that from the front seat. And so he's a really special person. He's grown in a number of ways, and he will continue to grow as he kind of goes through the gauntlet a little bit. And I think he's ready for that. He's very excited for that, and I mean, everybody's confident in him.
You're there every day. You guys are there every day. So what Gary brought to the team was fantastic, as you mentioned. But was there always a thought that if Blake got his chance, there would be no doubt?
I'm not sure a ton of thought goes into that.
Okay.
Just from a player's standpoint, just because there's so much that we have to deal with when it comes to school, all those things.
That's why I asked you the question earlier. Is like, how much do you actually talk about what everybody else is talking about all the time?
It's interesting because you guys like have narratives because it's your job to talk about this, but it's like a lot of those things we don't even think about.
They're not even in there. Yeah,
it doesn't even cross our mind. Yeah,
it's like the road trip is bothering them, and you're like, oh, we're on the road this week.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's just, hey, we're going to be ready to go when the kick comes.
Yeah,
this conference, the defense has turned the screws, and now, of course, they're trying to react with a couple of new coaches and coordinators that will try to change it up. You like this style of football, though, that Iowa in you, right? This Big 12 football. You love Baylor. You practice against it, as you mentioned. Baylor started using the 12 all the time.
Yeah, I don't get looks against our starting fullback though, because he's on defense at that time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But you're Superman. You could be. You could.
I don't want to take that responsibility from you.
I'm tweeting it, dude. I'm tweeting it.
Play.
But yeah,
Superman dual threat. How's that work?
When it comes to pullers and those inserts from the backfield and kind of those bigger bodies in the box, it's really great because I think it brings to light the beauty of football in my mind. Because when you talk about fitting a fullback that's coming in the B gap versus the A gap, like we just talked about this yesterday in our meetings, like it changes things. And then when you talk about, what if he fits in the C gap now? And it's so different. And then you talk about pullers into the equation, and like really getting to those intricacies and the answers of defense is really like a logical process. And so, that really just exposes the beauty of football to me. That's one of the reasons why I love the game, is because it's 11 guys, and when you have 11 pieces, it gets so complicated, and that's beautiful.
Ultimate team sport?
I don't know if I can speak for that, but I do love how football works.
Moving pieces and You think one day you may coach?
I don't know. Yeah,
because I kind of feel that. I know you want other things to do as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just in the league, but you kind of get that feeling that you could easily
I appreciate
get into that.
Yeah, I try to love what I do on a daily basis, and I spend most of my time right now doing football. So whatever I do, I want to attack it with that mindset and try to impact the people around me in a positive manner, and that's what I've been taught growing up, and that's been drilled into me at Baylor as well. It's about who you impact and the legacy you leave. And how you impact others.
You're doing it well. Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Baylor linebacker Dylan Doyle. We're at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, the new 2022 Impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months, plus $4,500 competitive bonus cash going on now. That's right, and $4,500 bonus cash. This incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the new car and truck inventory today at Allen Samuels Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humanor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Thanks to a lot of you that have been commenting today on the chat room. We appreciate that always for your feedback on many things, from Paxton, who's a big Texas fan, talking about Bijan Robinson, and without even prompting him, Dylan Doyle brought that up as a fan of certain players and brought up Bijan Robinson as well. We appreciate that, and thanks for being a part of what we do every day, video, audio, or both, here on Sikkim 365 Radio. We've interviewed Bryson Jackson and Dylan Doyle, and you could they're different personalities, but Craig, you could just feel it, that culture that every coach in every program wants.
Yeah, and you see it with other players and other teams that are here too. I think if we interviewed some K-State guys, you'd probably feel that. I think that if we interviewed, just name a team, we'd probably feel that somewhat. And some we might not. And it might be, it might be one of the best ways to kind of gauge who's going to be where next year is to kind of go through the whole mill of people and kind of see maybe where the culture's strongest versus where it's not. But, there's a lot of great coaches and great players and, great teams that are here today and will be here tomorrow as well. And it's been fun to get to see a few of them, and even more fun to actually sit down and talk with a couple of them like we have been able to do here and like we were able to do earlier today with Dave Aranda. But, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's just strange to be here today, maybe because Baylor's always on day 2, where it just feels kind of strange that they're always they mark the last day. This is the first time they've been the first day. And I
hadn't even thought about that.
At least a couple of years, if not longer than that. So it almost feels like we're packing up and leaving after this, but it's really just a start because there's a whole nother day tomorrow, and there's stuff remaining as well throughout this afternoon.
Baylor, Kansas, West Virginia, Kansas State, Oklahoma State today. There's still another maybe 30 minutes or so for some that will be here. And if we can pick somebody off, we will. And then tomorrow you go back to the rest of the conference on Thursday with OU, Texas Tech, Iowa State, TCU, and the Horns as well.
Yeah, and that ought to be pretty busy because you got two, schools in Tech and TCU with strong DFW ties, and, of course, Oklahoma and Texas. That goes without saying as well. And then Iowa State, they'll have a big contingent down here. I've already seen a couple of their reporters milling about. So, yeah, that's going to be a pretty good day. You got Joey McGuire's going to be here for the first time as a head coach. Brent Venables back, but first time as a head coach. Sonny Dykes as well, and then obviously big expectations for Sarkisian, and then Matt Campbell, same thing. So that'll be a very interesting panel of people to listen to tomorrow. But today's been really good. Mike Gundy's off. He's off the rails apparently. Just a couple tweets. He's just talking about everything. And Dave Aranda's kind of his typical reserve self, but I thought Climan was awesome. And, yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to – I guess it's hit me, one, because Baylor's not typically on day one, so it's kind of just sinking in for me. But also just the fact that it's – as much as we've been waiting for the season to start again, the fact that the season's almost here again is kind of weird. I know there's been slow plotting times where it's like mid-March and we're like, gosh, just get the season here. But now that it's actually almost here, it's just very strange to realize it's almost here.
It was interesting that Dave Aranda, in fact, we're about to play our conversation with him. He does say this, that he felt like football season, it was kind of time to get back and refocus during the baseball all-star break, which is coming right around the corner, when he was an assistant coach.
Yeah, that was like his marker.
From the 801, by the way, a BU helmet on the way. Thank you very much. We'll have that in the background when we get back to our studio in the friendly confines in Waco on Friday's show.
Yeah, thank you for that, absolutely. But to your point about the culture piece, I think there's others here from other schools that you could point to having a great culture, but to Baylor specifically, since we have talked to Dave Aranda, and you'll hear that in just a moment, and we've also now talked to a couple of players. It's as strong as it's ever been, and not because they won a Big 12 title and a Sugar Bowl title, but I think it's just evident, and you listen to these guys and listen to the way they talk about the game of football and talk about things outside of football as well. And so they're certainly not the only program that is that way, but I would put them, up there with the strongest of the strong when it comes to the cultures right now in college football. And that success is a side effect of that. They don't do what they did last year with the bad culture. They just simply don't. They don't rally after the TCU loss. Teams with a bad culture would have completely cratered and ended up in a far lesser bowl opportunity, and who knows, maybe with a bunch more transfers. But instead, pretty much limited the damage in the offseason, and they won what they won. And now it is time to stop talking about that. We're right at that point, but I do think it speaks to their culture, and I think that good culture will speak to the success that some of these other schools have here in the next few months.
And you're right. This is where the memories of what Baylor did, and also the disappointment of the gut-wrenching just reach in and grab your heart if you're Oklahoma State. In fact, Robert Woods, from Wet Blanket, lost by an inch with the Big 12 first-team quarterback pitching 4 or 5 interceptions and our starting running back not in uniform. Feel good, though, Baylor boy, and that's from Wet Blanket.
Baylor held on when their quarterback got hurt very early on in the second half after he was absolutely roasting Oklahoma State's vaunted defense. And then he gets dinged up and clearly hurt enough to where he had to have surgery following that game. And they didn't really have another option to pretty much go to in the second half. And also Oklahoma State made some changes. So, yeah, both teams battled adversity. And Spencer Sanders, I know a lot of people are hyping him up, but, I need to see some games that where he's not throwing inexplicable interceptions.
He can help you win a game and also can help you.
He's the Big 12's Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
You could have said before, not to quite that level, but pretty much
I'm glad
throw you out of a game potentially, or make some dazzling throws that win you a big game. And so I think there's some similarities there.
By the way, I did walk up. In fact, Craig had to remind me we were about to do the show. I saw Adrian Martinez off to the side. Everyone knows I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, off at Air Force Base, lifelong Nebraska fan, and it's been painful after 40 years of greatness. But I walked up to him. He was off to the side just during a break. I said, let me tell you something. I'm a Nebraska fan. I know not everything always worked out for you, but I love who he was. I loved him as what he was as a player. This is the fan in me, which I'm a fan at times too. And good luck. I hope he has a great year. I really do. because, man, there were so many times where they were close to having these huge wins and they just couldn't finish, and sometimes it was him or sometimes it was overall they could not get that done. From Casey Monroe, thanks for bringing this to us today. Didn't get a chance to watch during work, so loving the coverage. Thank you very much as well. Mike Moore, new watch, Smokey? No. What happened is I had this watch. Jennifer bought this for me, and then I dropped it and cracked the face for the longest of time. Finally went to Boozer's Jewelers and got it fixed. So I'm wearing it now. It's thank you for noticing that, because I love
that
Michael
too, though.
Kors.
It's funny you say that, because I was like, wait a second, that watch looks different.
Yeah, it's well, because the face was kind of dinged up, cracked, and whatever else. Wet blanket. Now, see, wet blanket, we got to talk. Pretty sure the Cowboys put it to Baylor earlier in the season, so STFU. Why? You're right. It's okay. Do you feel better? Why? Why even?
No, anybody that's typing all that right now is not a very happy person, for starters, so I don't even feel the need to have
We didn't even bring that up. We just said it was a great game.
You don't even need to react, because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb, and let's give it up to that regular season win. You can have that one. I think Baylor will take the one that they got, and I'm not sitting here being Mr. Defender, but now you're just being a D-head, so there you go.
Mutwich, Baylor had a great year last year, but this is a completely different season. With the transfer portal, teams can completely flip their roster in an offseason, and that's exactly, in a lot of ways, what we've talked about here in the first hour with Coach Climan. And also, now we are going to take you to our conversation with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. Live from Big 12 Media Days in Arlington, now joined by Baylor football coach Dave Aranda. What was the most exciting thing you've done this summer?
That's a hard one. I think there's been a lot of reflection, I think. You know, sometimes when you're not, most of the time, when you're not doing stuff is when the best ideas come, you know. And there's things that when you're working so fast and you're doing this and that, and there's things that are down the road that are kind of hovering above, they can settle and kind of find their own place, and you have the words come to you to kind of describe and make sense of all of it. So some of that's taken place, and I think, you know, it's while that's happening, which I think is a cool thing, you still want to, like, you know, your family time and all of that, and so you try to manage that. But I think there's been a lot of reading for me. Mm-hmm. I've taken 2 courses, like online courses, so I'm doing that, and I do that in the morning prior to everyone else getting up, and then, you know, planning for fall camp, and, you know, in terms of themes and talks and all of it. So, yeah.
What kind of online courses are you taking?
There's an author. He's a Franciscan friar named Richard Rohr, and so one of the courses was the Franciscan Way. I just finished that. Then there's another one called the Immortal Diamond. There's a book by the same name. So I'm in that one right now, and so I take a lot of notes on that, and then you know, find ways to incorporate all of it. I think the trick is the learning stuff's cool for me. Like, I could do that all day, but it's applying, you know, and it's one thing to think, it's another thing to do, and so that's football gives you a great opportunity for that. You know, what I'm talking to you about is what I would like for our team to do, our players, and so I think all of it kind of fits in a way.
How much now in your third year, and really the first year was so different with COVID, but how much now are the leaders on the team teaching what Dave Aranda taught them?
There's more of that. Yeah, I think at this point last year there probably wasn't very much of that. And I think that was kind of, you know, I think winning probably helped the most with that. And I think that, you know, it's probably good. It's probably a weakness of mine. I'm probably too idealist. I think for everyone else, it would take winning. You know, I probably might be the only one. They just go, well, you should. It just makes sense. You should try it. This is good. It'd be good for you. This would be the right thing to do, to try to be better and to try to, you know, help other people and stuff. But I think for a fair amount, it's like, what does this have to do with football? You know, and so I think the winning really helped. So there's more of that now, and I think, especially with the freshmen coming in, it's that communication is real, and it's it's not fake, and so I'm way proud of that.
I know one thing that you wanted to drive home in the spring was, I mean, you guys celebrated and had fun with what you did last year, but this is a new team. This is new leaders, and you're speaking to that. New quarterback starting with Blake. Do you think that's sunk in with those guys at this point that, hey, last year was fun, being here again is cool, but that really has nothing to do with what you're doing now?
I feel that. I think the coaches are a part of that too. And I think it's probably been a little bit more with them than with the team. But overall, I think it's human nature. You're fighting, and then you're outnumbered in that fight. From when they go home to what's on their phones, to their families, to what's on TV, and so it's like a whole thing. So you got to be way intentional about the things, the time that you have, the things that you say, and how you do, and all that it has a lot of meaning to it because you have to make it count, and so. I feel good about it. The summer workouts have been way strong. Right now, our big guys are in a fight because the heat's got them. It's about that time of summer, so they're right up against it. I think Vic does a great job. I know he does, of pushing guys and getting guys to mature in their own way. And so all that's happening right now, and that's going to be a strong thing. We got some youth in the back end, and so we're going to have to play 2 high safeties to start, and the front is going to have to eat up gaps. You have to play a gap and a half. On the offensive line, we're going to have to be able to run the ball to throw it, I think, to build with the young guys and just all of it, and build that confidence to where maybe we can flip that in a couple games in. But to start, no matter what it is, a running formation, we're going to run it anyways. I think all that stuff has to happen. And, that ain't going to happen if we can't get through a Thursday, run at whatever time.
If you had a team back, it's impossible almost to have everything back, from skilled people to linemen. You have your offense and defensive line, almost everybody's back. You have the quarterback back, but you don't have a lot of skilled people back with the guys, the ball hawks in the secondary. But is it better to have who you do have back with the experience rather than the other way?
Yeah, I think you would want inside out.
Yeah.
So you'd want from the inside that whether it's the D-line, the linebackers, you'd love to have a center fielder. If it's offensively, you'd love to have an O-line, a quarterback, and a running back, some type of be strong inside there. So we have some of that. But then I think, there is a fair amount of talent and a fair amount of belief within the team in the talent. And so I feel good about how that's progressing.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, with us, Big 12 Media Days here in Arlington.
You said yourself you're always learning, taking classes, for example, but football-wise, was there anything that stood out to you this offseason that you watched, or a certain coach, certain style that maybe tickled your interest a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this, but, Georgia last year had a fair amount of veterans up front on defense, and I think that they are a creeper team like us, and so finding creative ways to rush 4 guys. And so whether it's a linebacker or a corner or a safety, some on the line of scrimmage guy inserting into the rush to attack a protection or to attack a blocking scheme. And, I think the thought there is to try to get more bang for your buck and play all your base coverages and do all the stuff you need to do. And so they, like us, are built that way. But then last year, with the amount of veterans that they had, or got experience coming back is probably the better word, for them up front, they rushed 5 more than they ever have. I mean, their numbers were way strong in that percentage. And I went through their season. And, it's interesting because I think they did it because of the talent and the one-on-ones, And so I've talked to Ron about that quite a bit, with our defense. It's like our ability to get those one-on-ones for guys, because that is a strength. And so, that's another way of looking at it. The way I gave earlier was one way of looking at the strength, and that is kind of, put more weight on the shoulders of the D-line to kind of, manage and let's matriculate the talent in the back end. The other way is let the big dogs eat.
Yeah.
And so that makes a lot of sense from Georgia. The other thing I would say would be Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and a fair amount of Tampa, so cover 2. So true zones, and I think college football has kind of come around to the true zones, and I think Ron Roberts has been there for a while, but I think the rest of college football has kind of come that way, and the NFL at the time, there was a time where the NFL was, hey, this is zone, this is man, and then I think what ended up becoming was match cover 3, and whether it was Seattle Seahawks. This is kind of during their reign of is it? And then I think Saban had an impact on this too. Of if it's a vertical, you're carrying it. If they're crossing, you zone it off. And is it man? Is it zone? What depends on the route. I think some of that is it's now getting to more just man and zone. And so the vision that comes with it, and we're a huge zone team. You look at all the picks and everything we had last year. A lot of it was it's all zone. It's all vision, on the ball, breaking and playing a zone and a half. And so I think Tampa Bay did a great job with that, with their Tampa creepers. I thought they were really, I watched Devin White a lot and was able to see a bunch. I watched through their whole season, and they did a great job of showing single high, getting to too high off of it, playing too high with a corner as a half defender. So there's a fair amount. I think, if you don't keep up with it, it'll pass you by way fast.
Do you pick the brain of former players? Like you mentioned Devin?
Yeah.
He can even sometimes not so much teach you, but kind of give you an idea what they were thinking?
Oh, no, yeah. He can teach for sure. I mean, Jacob Phillips is with Cleveland, Patrick Queens with Baltimore. And so, I think, just their experience and, how something is taught, even if it's something that maybe I'm familiar with, how they're teaching it or how they're responding to that teaching is so instructive. And so I think listening can be a superpower if you let it.
What's easier, getting there to the top of the mountain in the case of winning the Sugar Bowl, the Big 12 championship, or keeping it and staying there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're both difficult. I think in both ways, you've got to I feel like, you're almost coming from two different ways to the same thing. One you're, the emperor has no clothes. The other way, it's like, get the crown off my head and get all this, and I need to live a life of poverty, So I think in either way, you want people to fully be available, and that's just so hard to do, man. I think, if it's, I think of I think of our coaches, for example. One of the things in January was we talk about stop counting. So I do this quite a bit. I know most people do, and I think it makes great, if you're a fan, you do this a lot of I like this, I don't like that. This is good, this is bad, right? This is a good player, this is a bad player. And we label stuff and we categorize stuff, right? And then I think what ends up happening when you do that, though, is you don't include and you don't. It's almost like an imprint on your mind that when the right circumstance comes, it fully comes to light. But you've been holding it, inherent in you, and then something else happens, and now, why does all this hate come from this person? Well, you've been having it in you. It's almost like the old Polaroid pictures you used to take, right? Where it's the negative, it's in the negative, and then once the light hits it, the chemicals come, and there's your picture. So the fight against labeling, the fight against you're in, you're out. I think our superpower at Baylor can be, what other people see as not big enough, what other people see is not fast enough, what other people see is not tough enough, any of those things. If we can, include that, we can forgive that and really incorporate that, that disadvantage can be an advantage. And it's just very hard. It's stuff you don't tweet out, Yeah. But I think it's stuff that works because people are seeing now, is what you're saying.
Right.
People are valued now.
Right.
And now you get a whole different person. But it's very difficult, especially if you're coming off of a win where it's this. And so I think, there was some of that this year where we had to work through that.
You got a lot of attention last year as you guys went on your run, and you're obviously not craving attention or seeking it out. What was that like for you? And you're suddenly into the spotlight more than ever before. Did you find yourself getting more comfortable with it? Did you find yourself enjoying it at all, or were you just desperately wishing to not be on camera as much as you were?
Yeah, I think the hard thing about being on camera is like how I look on camera. Yeah. So it's like, oh man.
I know.
It's so, it's, oh my, and then I know, like hearing this, it just sounds like someone's like whispering like a good night moon or something. So it's like all of it's just so frustrating. I just wish it'd be so different. So I think I have to kind of make peace with that a little bit. It's hard to do though, because it's so critical of yourself and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think there's what I do enjoy about it is that I think that our team and the people around us can believe that can be me, that I can do it. Like, you know, this time last year, there was no thought of, you know, whatever came could come, that would be for other people. That's not our brand. That's for that other brand, or that's for that other helmet, or that's for that, you know. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's cool about it.
You're comfortable right now. The first year was crazy. The second year was an adrenaline rush. Baylor allows you to be Dave Aranda, does it?
I think so. I think there's enough space between the academic, you know, the high academic achievements and you know, standards, along with, you know, the Christianity and the spiritual growth and living with your faith out in front. There's enough in their room for me to be me, and I think that's just such a strong thing. I you know, like I think we've talked before. Like I learn more than what I teach, and I think you know, you see. I mean, there's different things. I think like I would have never thought. So everyone that was here, you know, our team, we go out to eat at a steak restaurant last night. So we're with the players that are here, and I don't know about you guys, but when I would go somewhere, normally I would sit, and if I were to pick a place, I would sit in the corner with my back to the wall, so I could, you know, see everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I get in, and there is a seat back there, but there's a seat that's facing the door, and so I don't know if the door is right behind me. We're in a private room, so the door would open up. So I took that seat, you know, and I think the whole thing was kind of like just. And I never would have thought like this before. I never would have thought of like trying to like, I'm going to be okay. And I think like you know, my son wants the same seats I get. And so I've been trained now by him. When we go to a restaurant, he will take the seat and kind of like, you know, give me a little this. And at first I'd go, you know, Ronan, get up, and I'll do it. But now I'm like, okay. I just sit over here and it's fine. It works out okay, you know? And so I think like seeing the whole thing like that, I think is Baylor's helped me with. I don't know if that makes any sense. But,
sure it does.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there's certain people that will sit. Yeah, I think that we all pick and choose what we're comfortable, where we're comfortable sitting, and maybe, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Get out of your comfort zone a little bit and adjust, and you find out, hey, it's not that bad once you try it. And I guess that kind of sort of leads me into this. You know, Blake Shapen being your quarterback now. You talked back in the spring about, you know, obviously Gary was a great leader and a great example setter and things like that. And I know Blake was doing well with that during the spring, but do you see him finding another comfort zone with his personality and kind of how he has to be now as that guy?
Yeah, there's been opportunities so far with summer where, you know, there's been a hard run and maybe we're below the standard, and Blake calls them up and, you know, gets in their face and does all of it. And so like all of that is well needed, and it's, you know, it's a natural thing. And I think, you know, he's on the course, right? He's on his way. And so I'm excited to see his maturation with that. I think he's means a lot to him, I know. And I think, you know, he had such a great teacher in Gary that, you know, he's going to do just fine.
Yeah, he was the ultimate leader, wasn't Gary? The guy everyone, you can't raise your hand and be a leader. Mm-hmm. That's got to be something where they accept you as that, right? You can't say, I'm the leader. That would be damaging.
That's correct. Yeah, I think you have to model what you're saying. I think you have to do that. And then I think you have to, you have to live it in there are no such thing as time off. So there's not a time card with that stuff. It's the in-betweens. That's where the eyes will be on you probably the most.
One thing, do you pay attention to all this college football landscape change? How much does that get into your comfort zone?
It shows up some in recruiting now, I think, especially in some of the fights that we're in with some of the aforementioned other leagues. And so I think, you have to address it there. But I think, change is always hard, I imagine, and I think within change there's always great possibilities. So I'm way excited about our league, and I'm way excited about our commissioner, and I'm way excited about the teams that are going to enter our league. I think, I look at this season, and you go through that schedule, like every game is going to be a dogfight, every game. And I think for the people that just don't know the Big 12 or just don't really watch it too much, they don't understand the culture that's inherent in, and then, the road environments that we're going to be going into. And so, I think there's a lot to be proud of. And so I'm way proud of our league.
Do you have any idea when y'all are going to start fall practices yet?
Yeah, so we start that, I think it was at the 4th of August we get back. And so there's still about a couple weeks for the staff, kind of enjoy some time. And then our players are going, and they'll go for about another couple days, and then they'll have about 5 days prior to the start of some time off, maybe go back home if they're in the state to go see their families, and then we're off. So excited for it.
It's you got a little time left to decompress, and then every day.
Yeah,
every day.
It used to be for me when I was an assistant. It used to be the Major League All-Star game. That was kind of the sign. And once that was kind of the end of summer. But for now, it's this. So, yeah, we're about there.
Thank you for always giving us access. We really do appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, we'll come back with more. I was just talking to Dave Wilson of ESPN, and Brian Etheridge is here. We have Emery's here. Levi is here. Grayson was here earlier. Jack and Garrett as well behind the scenes. But kind of some fun stuff from Mike Gundy earlier today, off to the side after his press conference. We'll get into some of that. Craig, you mentioned that a little bit. We'll have fun with that. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543. Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Just saw this on the chat room from Steel Gator. Guys, I'm new here, but want to say you guys have a class stream going here. Huge fan already. Steel Gator, thank you very much. And if you want to let us know on the chat room how you heard about us, someone the other day mentioned an algorithm that popped up in college football, which is what Emory and Levi and others have done along the way. So we appreciate you for being a part. Oh, my God, yes, I guess so. Absolutely. Hey, Brett, David Smoak.
Well, we're going to have the new commissioner here in just 1 second.
Perfect timing. Perfect. Thank you, Bob. We are now joined by the Big 12 commissioner himself, Brett Yormark, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. How's your day been?
Thrilled to be here. My day's been great. Immersing myself into the environment. Been here obviously since early this morning and meeting a lot of people that I've spoken to on the phone and putting names to faces. But it's been a great first day in front of the whole community here, the Big 12 community. So humbled to be in the new role. Obviously, I don't start officially till August 1, but I've jumped in pretty aggressively over the last couple of weeks and got a lot to learn, but excited about the future.
It's like your hair on fire for like the last couple of weeks. You're kind of maybe a transition, but whoop, you got to jump out of the plane.
No, you're absolutely right. But you know what? Sometimes that's the best way to get acclimated. And where there's challenges, I always see opportunities. And the key stakeholder groups here have been fantastic. You know, working so closely with the ADs and the presidents, and getting to know everyone and the role they play. And everyone's been extremely supportive. And what I said earlier today, there seems to be just this unified approach to where we're going amongst the member institutions. And I saw it at the board meeting when I met the board and I was going through the interview process. But now I'm really experiencing it and feeling really good about the future. So as we think about where we go next, it's nice to know that everything we consider is truly going to be additive to what we have today. And the current commissioner, Bob, has done an incredible job laying a wonderful foundation. And we're in a good place right now. And I feel really good about it. So he's passing the baton to me, and my job is to make sure I don't drop it.
I know you mentioned in a little side conversation earlier after you'd done your press conference. A bunch of reporters had gathered around. You mentioned this got the ball rolling. I guess Turnkey had brought up the opportunity, and you had said, like, hey, if there's opportunities I might be interested in. Had college commissioner been a specific idea in your mind before, or was it just kind of under an umbrella of ideas that you would have liked to have explored?
As I mentioned earlier, I always had a progression ladder that I kind of visualized for my career and the different steps that I would take to ultimately get to where I want to go. And being an AD was something I have referenced many times throughout my career, not knowing when or where. So when the opportunity came about by Turnkey to say, hey, Brett, it's not an AD role, it's a commissioner role, and they outlined it, it piqued my interest. And then after the first engagement with the search committee, I felt very comfortable. But at that point in time, I wasn't sure that whether they were going to pivot away from the traditional and look at something maybe a little different. Obviously, my candidacy was, quite a bit different than maybe others. So. But as I learned more about them and where they wanted to take this thing, I realized that they were looking for a new, fresh approach. And, that's certainly something that I'm going to bring to the role. And I do think many of my skills are transferable based on where I've been. And I'm just excited to be part of it and to see what I can do.
There was a quote from you, and I've read up on you, because I got to honestly tell you, when I saw your name pop up, I had to start going, like how many people had to go to Google. And that's with all due respect.
Yeah, of
what
course.
You've done business-wise, sure, with Rock Nation and other things, NASCAR, that came up immediately. Make dreams come true is something that you've said is important to you.
Yes.
Is that something that goes full center even with the Big 12 Conference?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I dream big. I dare to fail. We're going to dream big here for sure. Why not? I think we should be as aspirational as we want to be as far as where we want to go. And wherever I've been, I've always been in a position where I was a bit of a dreamer. A lot of people said we wouldn't get to Brooklyn from New Jersey. We wouldn't build Barclays Center. We were able to get it done. A lot of people said we couldn't contemporize and take NASCAR out of its kind of original roots and nationalize, the sport and bring it to new and emerging markets. We were able to do that. So when I think about this opportunity, yeah, we're going to dream big. We're going to do things differently. We're going to try to be bold but humble at the same time. We'll be aggressive, thoughtful, innovative, creative. I'm excited.
Would you have taken this job had USC, UCLA happened before you accepted?
I mean, it's a great question, but I don't know if, I would probably have been more naive to the situation, not understanding fully like I do today what the ramifications are. So I'm not sure it would have been a deterrent at all. So I guess to answer the question, I probably would have taken the job. I don't think it would have, changed, the direction that I was heading in.
What I remember when you were announced, and I was thinking, okay, what are the connections here? And then I had somebody quickly, say like, hey, Matt Rule at Baylor wasn't a Baylor guy. He wasn't a Texas guy. He came in, though, from outside, the outsider, so to speak, and didn't have a lot of connections. You do have some connections to the Big 12 and geography and things like that. But do you think that as big of a part of what you're going to do initially is getting to know the landscape, or are you just planning on flipping the landscape and that's not going to be as important to fall back on what's kind of always been customary around these parts, so to speak?
When you mean landscape?
Like just the Midwest, the geography, kind of the culture of the Big 12 currently.
Well, listen, I think we're going to look to do things differently, but I think at the same time we will respect and preserve the integrity and the traditions that have made the Big 12 what it is today. I think there's a balance there. You can contemporize while also paying tribute to where you've come from. And I've certainly done that in many places I've been before. So I don't think it's going to be any different here.
Brett, can you try to explain what those discussions are like when you do talk to TV networks about whatever sport it might be? How long is that? Like a long process, or is that something where you're on the speakerphone, or you're in person, you're on Zoom or whatever? How does that go about? Because we're talking about lots and lots of money.
You're talking about it as it relates to negotiating a new TV deal?
Yes, sir.
I think it starts. I mean, in reality, it starts now. I mean, I said before we have 3 years, but circling the wagons, meeting all the right players, engaging with them, understanding their goals and objectives, what they're looking for in partnership and how they define it. All those things are done in advance of really getting to the table. I guess you could say you date a lot, right, before you get to the table and you really have a meaningful negotiation. That's how I've always done it. I do a ton of intelligence gathering in everything I do. And as it relates to the TV deal, I'll be doing a lot of that. I'll be meeting with all the obvious suspects, maybe some of the new and emerging platforms, trying to understand where they want to go and how they want to do it. So by the time we're ready to sit down, I'll know exactly where I need to be and who I need to be in front of and how we get a deal done. So that legwork really starts now.
You know where the money is?
Do I know where the money is?
Yeah.
I know where the money is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's not an issue for me. And, and that's part of the vetting out process now. Who has the wherewithal, the bandwidth, the financial resources to make the kind of commitment we're looking for. And I'll be doing a lot of that due diligence well in advance of before we sit at the table.
After you wrapped up your press conference earlier, I was flicking around on social media looking through, and if there was a complaint of any kind about what you had to say, it was the one comment about not so much paying attention to what other people are doing. I guess the feeling being that you kind of need to know what else is going on around you. Not that you have to clarify that comment, but can you kind of talk about not needing to feel like you need to know sort of what's going on the outside of the Big 12 or what your focus is?
Well, and I will clarify that. I'm a firm believer in doing a lot of intelligence gathering and knowing who's doing what, when, and how. But that's not driving my decision. What's driving my decision is what's in the best interest of the Big 12. I mean, when I was in Brooklyn, people used to say, Brett, don't worry about the guard. Just be the best you can be in Brooklyn. And if you do all the right things, you'll build something quite special there. And we did. In a very short period of time, we became a venue that was destinational for all forms of content. We became global. And it truly didn't matter to me what the Garden was doing. I was aware of what they were doing, but it wasn't driving my decision-making. So as I think about the Big 12, obviously I'm engaging with all the different commissioners and doing a lot of fact-finding and intelligence gathering. But ultimately, where we go is what's in the best interest of this conference. And it's not dictated by anything else.
And I took it that way, but I know that it can be taken different ways, so I'm glad to hear you clarify that a little bit. Yeah, because some people are trying to take it as, well, what do you mean you don't know what's going on around you? And, of course, that makes all the sense.
Well, and one of the things of the Texas OU thing, and there's anger, bitterness, lack of trust, and yet again also go. But yet those who are remaining in the Big 12 deserve something before they go. The win-win situation, and then you followed up by saying, but what is in the best interest of the conference? You're not going to just let them walk out the door.
No, but I'm a firm believer in trying to get to a place where it's a win-win for everyone, okay? Their win is probably they want to go,
right?
Whether it's now or in 2025. And, at the point in time where they reach out to me, I mean, listen, as I said earlier, they were a part of the search process. They were in the room as part of a board members. And when we're doing AD calls, they're part of those calls, and they've been very gracious to me and very welcoming. But at the point in time where they want to have a discussion, I'll be ready, and I'll be all ears. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do, obviously, what's in the best interest of the conference.
Have you spoken with ESPN about anything with the grant of rights to the Big 12 current contract, anything like that? Have you even got to that point?
I speak to ESPN and Fox, if not daily, every other day, on various issues. So to answer your question, yes, I am fully engaged with ESPN and Fox.
So they know your personality too, right? They know that you're not just going to – they know Brett Yormark's bringing –
Well, they've known me. They've known me for years.
Yeah.
Eric Shanks is a dear friend.
Yep.
In fact, he was quoted in
yes, he was.
the press release, and Burke Magnus and I have worked together for years, and obviously we hosted a lot of basketball games that ESPN distributed at Barclays Center. So I know the players, and I've got great access to them when I need them, and they know they can call me too. And sometimes the call might be for 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, but we are fully engaged.
Speaking of engaged, Linda Livingstone, Baylor president, we covered the Bears, and she was up there helping introduce you along with Bob Bowlesby. What have your interactions been like with President Livingstone thus far?
She's terrific. She was part of the search committee, and got to know her. And then obviously, I interface with her and communicate with her quite often, and work very close with her. AD Mac, he's fantastic. In fact, I'm speaking to him probably 5 or 6 times a day.
We speak every Tuesday with him.
No, I love him. He high energy.
He's supposed to be on vacation and all this.
Listen, he sent me a couple of texts, from vacations, a couple of photos. But he's balancing it well, but he is all in, and he's been so supportive of me, and really appreciate the partnership.
When you say as unified as you could imagine, that's what Bob Bowlesby said a year ago, and then, of course, 8 days later, all hell broke loose. You're talking about unified among whom? Those who will be still here, or?
When I say unified, it's the collective group of member institutions seem very aligned. They have a vision for where they want to go, and it's very consistent, throughout the room. And I've experienced that more than once, not only during the interview process, but in the conversations I've had since. And that I also get the same feeling from the ADs.
There's a lot. Social media, it seems like people think everything on social media is true. Have you guys offered anybody to come join the conference?
No. Nope. Not something we would do at this point in time. We're vetting out all possibilities and options, and at the right time, when it's appropriate, I'm sure we'll vet through those options and make a determination what's in the best interest of the conference. But have we made anything official? No.
You knew how good this conference might be when you took the job and the challenges. Do you feel like it's stronger than you thought, even with the news?
I do. Obviously, I'm a college football and basketball fan and knew enough about the conference. But as I've done further due diligence, as I prepared myself, for the opportunity to be the commissioner, I did more due diligence and asked a lot of questions. I felt good about where the conference is today. And now that I'm here, I think there's even more upside moving forward. I think there's a lot of potential.
If you had to negotiate with you, who would win?
I don't know. I mean, listen, who knows? But I like the art of a deal. I really do. I love negotiation. I love being transactional. And I think there'll be a part of this role that's going to afford me the opportunity to do just that. And this game of chess, that called realignment and expansion, I'm enjoying just because it's exciting, and you're trying to identify who's going where and how they're doing it, and it's no different than the other things I've done in my career.
I sell sponsorships. This is what I do. I talk show, but I sell sponsorships because it's who can sell you better than you, right? And there's a high when you get a sponsor or when someone believes in you enough to buy what you do. Is that what you get as well when you're doing deals?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of satisfaction from it. I enjoy that. Because, as you know, the art of selling is convincing something they need something that they didn't know they did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a real art to that. And when you can accomplish that at the highest levels, it's a great rush. It's incredible.
Have you dealt yet with the Barclays about hosting the Big 12 men's basketball tournament?
It's so funny you should ask
that.
No,
okay. I thought about that.
Just for the sake of asking recently, I was on a conversation with them, and I said, guys, listen, just out of curiosity, when is the ACC Atlantic 10 rotation over? Not that, I'd considered anything, but I was just asking the question, generally speaking. And they didn't give me an answer yet. There's a lot of new people working over there. They weren't aware of when that deal ends. But you've just, the conference just extended their deal, as you know, in Kansas City. And
right.
From what I understand, it's a great host market. I'm really looking forward to being there this year. So I think it's in a great place.
Appreciate you. You hit the door. You really, truly were thrown out of like a plane with a parachute, maybe.
No, listen, it's been great. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I want to be a resource for both of you, too. So if you need something, let me know.
We appreciate it, Brett. Thank you very much for your time. Brett Yormark,
so much.
again, Big 12 commissioner with us at AT&T Stadium In Arlington, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wraps, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
All right, text message from Paul Bloss. Guys, I'm in Edinburgh. 9:47 p.m. watching Brett Yormark in Big 12 Media Day coverage. Great show. Paul's going to join us on Friday from St. Andrews and kind of give us a feel after the second round of the British Open or the Open Championship. So, Paul, great to have you and appreciate your time. And that was pretty cool. We weren't expecting Brett Yormark at that time, and it was a perfect time for him to show up. And I think we accomplished a little bit there. At least some stuff we answered.
They might have unofficially invited some curious the way that he answered that question.
I had to ask it too, yeah.
No, I mean, you did your job, and I'm curious to know how many other people have asked something similar, because there was a very lengthy pause before he said no. You notice that, Garrett?
Dude, yeah, that was without question.
Yeah. So that was interesting, but he's got a quick, a wit about him and good personality. And I think that everybody that's been here today who maybe had their reservations, I mean, we still got a lot more that we need to see. I mean, it's day one of him, and he's not even technically on the job yet. But I don't know. I think a lot more people are feeling better about Brett Yormark than they were just a couple weeks ago, for sure.
I feel like there's been a vibe just all day kind of with the way he's talked about the Big 12, the way he's talked about being aggressive. I mean, they're open for business, and it's clear he really means that. And he's very intentional with everything that he said, and you can tell his mind is very, it's going 100 times speed every single time. So I've been very impressed, honestly, by everything he said. And, yeah, I think the way he's kind of alluded to things, I feel like there could be things coming relatively soon, which I think we're all expecting, honestly.
Yeah, he's not officially on the job just yet. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But definitely seems like he's already got some things in the works. Not trying to tease everybody out there and say, oh, expansion's coming. But, I mean, he's not shied away from that topic. He's addressed it full bore. And your question was as direct as it gets. And, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out here over the next few weeks. But for those that don't know, Grayson Grunhafer, Sikkim 365, joining us here.
I wish I could get to all of the chat room comments about the interview with Brett Yormark. We appreciate all of them. And a lot of you, I had never met him. None of us had ever met him other than we saw him earlier today and then had a chance to kind of get a couple of minutes with him afterwards as well. Grayson, all right, so one of the things that happens with media days, and I remember Matt Rule one time, like everyone wanted a depth chart, or they wanted and he was on like the beach in Florida or something like that, and he just scribbled some things together. Everyone panicked over anything from what they released today that caught your attention?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was kind of hoping they would release a depth chart of some kind, right? That's kind of what I was hoping for, but that didn't happen. No depth chart, but we did get a roster, and the roster on the website is updated, everything along those lines. All the new guys that arrived in the summer, they're on there. And I think some of the more interesting ones came probably from the weights, right? Because you kind of want to see how much do these guys weigh when they arrive on campus, and also the guys on campus, how much do they weigh? So, like Blake Shapen, he went from 192 to 200 pounds. That's a good jump, right, for him. And he needs to get stronger and thicker. Like, we all know that, right? He got hurt too easily last year. He's got to get stronger. So that was one. I think, Trey Emery, being a true freshman coming in.
Is he above 300?
318 pounds. Yeah, and so when he was recruited, he was 270. And so to see that jump, I mean, it was very impressive. And remember, they aren't going to have a nose tackle returning next year outside of Trey Emery. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have to fill in a big role. I'm expecting them to likely take a transfer probably and allow Trey to be the backup or the 1-2 combo like Jackson and Apu are going to be this year. But to see him at 318, it's like he can definitely be there. He could definitely be around that 330 mark, which would be huge.
He once was like a defensive end outside type guy at Mount Pleasant because I remember talking to his coach, and he said, no, this guy can end up being like that anchor. Mm-hmm. He has the ability to put that kind of weight and strength on his body.
And we know how important it is.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Apu has done. I mean, he completely changed their defense in a year. I mean, having a guy like that is massive. He's not the same guy that Apu is. Obviously, Apu showing up at 380 when he first got to LSU.
He had to lose weight.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different situation for sure, but still very nice to have that comfort there. There were a few other guys on there. I mean, Kyan Roberts-Day being 269 pounds. He's supposed to be playing running back to start camp at 260. Like, everyone just laughs because it's like 269 pounds.
That's a lot.
That's more than Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That's 16 pounds more than Derrick Henry.
Like, I still have to see that.
Me too. Yeah, and I agree with that. They have him listed at 85 and listed as a tight end, but I do believe he will start fall camp at the running back position.
What were maybe some questions that you were looking forward to having? I mean, obviously it's media day, so there's not going to be like a starting announcement and, things like that don't typically get revealed here. But was there anything of interest, especially in the breakoff session with Aranda, that you were hoping to hear about?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't hoping to hear about this, but I heard about it anyways. Elijah Ellis, the offensive lineman, he's had injury issues, and there was, speculation about kind of his future at Baylor because he hadn't gotten on the field. But Dave Aranda actually said he's a guy that they might rely on early in the season. And I feel like that's a big note because he's not expected to be a starter. Is expected to probably be in the 2 deep if he's healthy, but I found that to be really interesting. He's 239 pounds, but he was dealing with, or 339 pounds, but he was dealing with an injury all offseason. So I think it's kind of questionable weight. He probably needs to lose some of that weight. But to hear that he might be a guy that's going to play early, I mean, that's kind of a weird statement, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't factor him in much at all.
Yeah.
When we started talking about the offensive line and all that.
What is the height of Jalen Ellis?
6'3".
Why did that blow me away?
Yeah, it should.
Like a growth spurt, or
it had to be.
Because sometimes rosters, with all due respect, they can be a little bit interesting.
Right, but even if it's off by an inch and he's 6'2", that's still tall for him.
I think they're measuring the top of his hair.
Maybe that could
because he does
be.
have or at least the last I saw him, he had probably 2 or 3 inches just of hair sticking up. Maybe it's that.
He needs to translate to the field.
Yeah.
Can he be healthy?
Yeah,
but,
that's the
question. If
question.
he's truly 6'3", he's taller than Armani Winfield. He's a guy who can clearly play on the outside. So I think that's a huge question mark for him though, because he's been hurt so often. I would also say Armani Winfield was over 200 pounds. He's at 204, 6'2", 204. So great weight gain by him. I think it's 11 pounds is what he added since he arrived at Baylor.
We have a recruiting question we're going to ask you about, and then we'll be done with that part. But first, anything on the other Big 12 coaches that I know you've been tweeting out some notes here and there, and obviously it's just half the league. What we got today, we got Baylor and Oklahoma State and West Virginia, Kansas State. But anything from those other schools that was of note, I suppose?
Everybody's going to be good.
Yeah, that's true. it's certainly today's group. Everybody believes so.
I know, it's those expectations.
Except for Kansas is going to be better.
Yes.
They'll be better.
I found a quote very interesting by Lance Leipold talking about the fact that he thinks that this year they're getting much closer to the numbers they need to be at scholarship-wise, but next year he feels much more comfortable with where they're going to be at. That kind of tells me they're still a year away. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very true. I think that's everyone's expectation. But the other coaches, like Neil Brown, I don't know how many times you and I have to talk about him, Craig, but we both feel like eventually it's going to happen. We've said that since day one, and he continues to say all the right things. He seems to be very confident in their new additions, and no one even asked about JT Daniels, and we kind of know, sort of know what he's going to bring to the table. We think there's more upside there than what they had with Jarrett Dagey, but I'm very intrigued by them. He said this could be their best defense they've ever had in his time there, which is massive. They had the Stills brothers for a while. Now they only have one left. But I found that to be very interesting. I think Chris Climan exudes confidence, which they're a popular dark horse pick for good reason. They have a lot of guys returning. They have the most preseason All Big 12 selections, which is cool as well. And they have, in my opinion, the best offense player in the conference in Deuce Vaughn. And so, I like what they're building. And obviously Baylor, Dave Aranda was great about that. They're the hunter. They're the hunted now instead of the hunter. So going to be very interesting. Competitive year in the Big 12 for sure. And I come away even more like, wow, this is going to be a tough year for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's going to be. I think that's why it's so hard to peg. And you try to shoot. I see people shooting holes through. I can't believe you're picking them to win the conference. It's like, do you really know? Does anybody really know this conference right now? You judge it off of recruiting or transfers or whatever, but I think this league's pretty wide open, and there's immense room for some upsets. So let's get into the big question. I know you're tired of talking about this, but Austin Novosad, Baylor quarterback commit, has – I guess there's an article out about his 4 that he's focused in on. Notre Dame just offered, yesterday or the day before. Ohio State was here recently as well, and that was the one that kind of got this whole ball rolling with him exploring his options, so to speak, and then A&M kind of in between that, and he's a legacy from A&M. If you pointed out, his parents went there. On the surface, me looking at this, other than the Notre Dame offer, nothing has really changed. He's been pretty open about being committed, but open and listening. And as you've said, who wouldn't in his position? I know that I've seen some Oklahoma fans who are like, this is why I'm so thankful to have Brent Venables, because he doesn't allow visits once people are committed. Well, I've seen that blow up in people's faces too, so whatever. Anything to comment on Austin Novosad for the people out there freaking out or whatever they may be doing?
So the first thing I would say about the Notre Dame offer is, what is he supposed to say when someone asks him, what do you think about getting a Notre Dame offer?
Yeah.
He's not going to say, I'm not interested. He's not going to say, there's no way I would go there. He's not going to say they're out of it. They just offered, yesterday. So I think realistically, I don't think he's decided whether Notre Dame is actually going to be a factor at all, just based on the conversations I've had with him. I think that is still a process he has to have. I also know that everything I've talked to him about is like, I want my recruitment to be over soon. I know the end of July seems like it's a long ways away, but it's really not.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like he's going to have a decision by then. But what I do know is A&M is trying to get him on an official visit, which could happen that weekend, that July 30th weekend. On the flip side, he's committed to coming to Baylor for that camp on July 30th. So there's definitely going to be a decision made there. Which one does he go to? My hunch is it'll be over before then. I just think that he's not going to take longer than the end of July, and that means it's going to be tough for Notre Dame to get him on a visit, which if he doesn't take an official visit to Notre Dame, they're out. Like, it's not going to happen. He's gone to the other 3 schools. So that's kind of where I'm at. Right now, I feel somewhat confident in saying that it's between Baylor and A&M. And I think that's kind of where it's at. And I feel like a decision could come tomorrow or it could come in 3 weeks, but I don't see him letting it drag on longer than that. He's extremely serious about his senior year of high school. They're moving up to 6A. This is, big boy football. He's playing Austin Westlake. He's playing Lake Travis. He's not going to take his senior year for granted.
And he committed when?
In December of last year.
And all 3 of these other 3 schools have all offered within the last month, basically. Right?
June 1st was Ohio State. Okay. That was his first one.
A little over a month
and then the other ones came out.
So this has all changed over the last 5 weeks.
Speaking of that, I do think the recruiting services do a really, really incredible job, but I also think that there's a little bit of politics to go with it as well.
There definitely
is. Fudge, but
they feed some things.
So he's a 4-star.
Yeah.
If he commits, he's committed to Baylor. He signs with Baylor. He's a 4-star. Yep. What if he signs with Ohio State or he also commits to Notre Dame or A&M? Does he become a 5-star?
So there's a ranking. There's a ranking that is supposed to come out. On3 has him as a 3-star. They're the only ones that have him as a 3-star. They're way behind on this. So they're going to adjust it, whether he stays with Baylor or not. He will be a 4-star on that service very soon. And once he gets that, he'll be really locked in as kind of that mid 4-star. It's very hard to get to the 5-star level. Yeah. It's very hard when currently I think he's the number 14 overall quarterback in composite rankings. I think he deserves to be closer to like number 6. And even number 6 doesn't even get you a 5-star. Like, you're talking about jumping guys who are committed to, your traditional powerhouses, your Oklahoma, Oregon, Clemson, and guys that have already been ranked that high for so long. And there's this kind of bias of, well, we've had him there for so long, why would we move him if he hasn't done anything wrong? Why would we move a guy down? So I think this is more about Austin moving up. I think if he committed to Ohio State or A&M, I think he'd probably somehow find his way, like maybe at number 6, maybe at number 5. If he sticks with Baylor, I still think he'll be a top 8 quarterback when it's all said.
And you know what? Who gives a damn if it's a 5-star? That's always just more, and in the end, it doesn't matter. As long as he's good when he gets on campus and whatever he does in his college career.
Yeah, and he made the Elite 11. He did all of that. He's going to be top 15 quarterback, probably top 10. Like, plenty of NFL guys have come from those rankings. Mm-hmm. Like, he's right there of being a national recruit. Everyone knows his name now. Like, he's a big deal in the recruiting world.
Yeah, I had to kind of sometimes when he first committed to Baylor, okay, Novosad, because the O and the A in the middle.
Right.
All right, Grayson. Thank you, man. Appreciate you being here.
Look forward to talking about that again on Tuesday because it's coming.
It is.
The Bearcast with Grayson and Craig, they tape it every, Tuesday?
Yeah.
And then it's up, and it's all over the place, and it's amazing on everything you would ever want. Baylor, is it still over an hour?
Yeah, we try to keep it an hour, but we'll have weeks where Craig and I like to rant a little. We'll get up to an hour 15, hour 30.
We're supposed to be off at 6, and we're never off at 6. We get it. Thank you. Content. Levi and Garrett, Jack, Brian, also Emery, all here with Craig and me and Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour.
Let me ask one more question real quick.
Yeah.
What did you think of Brett Yormark?
Yeah. I was very impressed by Brett. Mm-hmm. And I think the things that he said were kind of emblematic of what the Big 12 needs. Mm-hmm. Right now, they need someone who's going to take into effect youth culture, which is something he really mentioned, trying to appeal to a young audience, trying to get those people to kind of rally behind the Big 12. And I think that's huge. Make the brand fun again, right? Mm-hmm. Make it more fun, make it more known across kind of the national landscape. And I mean, if things happen the way that I think it could, I mean, the Big 12 could extend from Florida all the way to California. And if it does that, you need to be able to appeal to everyone in between. And I think it's very important.
We were able to ask him some questions. We really weren't expecting him today after the first hour went by, and it was great. It was, he answered them all.
Yeah, he's bringing a fresh little buzz to the Big 12.
Something needed.
He's got a little bit of a pit bull look to him, like that.
No, I mean he's a smooth operator. I mean,
I'm not
definitely
talking about the singer or whatever.
No, I don't. Yeah, that doesn't fit for vibe really. Although, I mean, he's got the hip hop connections, so he probably knows Pitbull actually if you really break it down. But he's. It's fresh, it's new, and it's a good feeling to have somebody like that, leading the charge now.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny because the Bob Bowlesby thing where he's like, 11 months ago, we were sitting here and I thought everything was great. We were all coming together. 10 days later, OU and Texas are gone. But I just wanted to say how the tables have turned because on today, everyone was extremely appreciative of where the Big 12 is at because of Bob, which it's just funny how it all comes full circle.
It was also strange, though, when they asked people to give him a round of applause. Media guys just are so awkward about that.
We don't do that.
We don't do that. And so it was kind of a little bit and I know that Bowlesby is not popular with a lot of people, and that's fine. But the bottom line is they survived last year, and now they're going to try to do it again with Brett Yormark in charge. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to hear from Baylor linebacker Bryson Jackson and also Bill Hancock, executive director of the College Football Playoff, and his thoughts about many things that perhaps questions you may have. 365 Sports live at Arlington at AT&T Stadium.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sick on 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They go to the eye. Play action. Bohannon back in the end zone. And a touchdown for Baylor. Drake Dabney's second catch of the drive, and it's good for 6.
Sikkim 365 Radio's live coverage from Big 12 Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington is presented by Three Nations Brewing Company. Respect tradition. We make great beer with new innovative brewing techniques, and you can find Three Nations beers anywhere where premium craft beer is sold. Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, Craig Smoak, David Smoak, we're in front of the camera. We're the ones that are fortunate because we get to do this job, and Grayson joined us as well. But there are so many people. In fact, I'm going to take a picture right now on the air. We're about to go to an interview with Bryson Jackson. Let me see if I can get everybody in this picture.
Good thing you did that while we were on the air, not the commercial break we
during
just
the commercial.
had.
but it's because of what they're doing. I mean, they're just pumping stuff out. We appreciate it very, very much. So now we'll hear from Bill Hancock with the College Football Playoff Committee in just a second. But Bryson Jackson, Garmin Randolph, some of the guys that we saw make some plays last year, but the next level of what and who has to step up to be the ones who replace some of the stars that are now at the next level.
Yeah, Bryson Jackson had a couple sacks against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl and was a good, solid player. But they do lose basically, their entire secondary. There are some players with experience returning. By the end of the year, Al Walcott was a starting corner, so you don't technically lose everybody in that secondary. And Christian Morgan you could add in there as well as a safety. I'm not quite sure exactly what role he's going to play specifically. But, I mean, they basically lose that whole group. And then at linebacker, I mean, obviously you lose a Terrell Bernard and kind of a tweener secondary and linebacker in Jalen Petrie. So, I mean, that's a lot of losses in that just back 7 or 8 that they are dealing with. So to have a guy like Dylan Doyle coming back and to have a guy like Bryson Jackson coming back as well in that linebacking core, I think is a big deal. And, like I said, he had a big Sugar Bowl, so he closed out the year on a high note. He's definitely, one of the leaders, or else he wouldn't be here today. In my opinion, he wouldn't be invited to be here because if it was just about inviting just the star players, it would have been Blake Shapen would be here. And not to say he's not a leader, but I don't think you get the invite to come here and represent the brand if, they're not thrilled with, the person and player that you are. And I think Bryson Jackson's a good embodiment of representing both of those at a very high level. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does out there this year.
Brandon Slater, by the way, thanks for the super chat. You're welcome is what he said. What are your thoughts on Yormark pivoting perhaps and going after Oregon, Washington, Utah, Stanford instead of the 4 corners? I don't know that. I know there's reports out there, and we just had them on. I get the impression they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
I really think he played that to the best.
I think that if you see his long pause after being asked about Big 12 expansion and whether or not he's actually invited teams, I think that said a lot without saying anything. And then his follow-up also said a little something without saying or revealing too much. But that's certainly not something he would flat out say on this show, but you can read between the lines however you want. But, at the same time, when it comes to all this expansion stuff, I mean, if I was reading certain accounts last week, then, the Big Ten would already be at 22 teams, according to people who have already pivoted. And, I appreciate those who have insider info, but I also am wary of those who are perceived to have insider info. And then it's just you come to realize it's just a lot of basically throwing every scenario out there so you're never quite all the way wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like you mentioned every scenario, so you were 1 for 10, but you technically were right. So, I mean, there's a lot of that when it comes to expansion talk and social media and all of that. So I do think there absolutely has to be something at the end of the day to having some level of interest in those schools, or some combination of those schools. But, do I know enough, or do I feel confident enough to feel like that's a done deal in the sense of like that's definitely the direction that they're headed? No, I don't know that, because we thought, or not we necessarily, but the college football world a week ago was reading the last rites to the Pac-12, right? And now basically the Pac-10 is saying, as of today, that they're going to remain together and alive, and so maybe that happens, and Pac-12 fans can run their very weak victory. And I'm not bagging on the Pac-12, but run that victory lap if you want to. That 10 or so schools are going to stay together, but for all we know, in 2 weeks the victory lap is completely kaput, and they're breaking apart, and 5 of them are joining the Big 12.
Yeah.
So it's like. It's ever changing, and I do think it's very clear, to just wrap this up, it's very clear in listening to him that they are, and it's very clear in listening to him today. He mentioned expansion like 10 times.
Yep.
So yeah, they're looking, they're hunting, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was those teams.
Do you know where the money is? And he said, "Oh, I know where the money is." And not just with the television execs and networks. All right, here is Bryson Jackson, Baylor linebacker. Craig mentioned he's one of the guys representing Baylor today. Tomorrow, there are 5 new teams that come in. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you didn't hear the conversation with the commissioner and Brett Yormark, I hope you do. We'll have that up on our Twitter handle, YouTube, and all that very, very soon. I'd like to get feedback from you on that. Bryson Jackson joined us earlier. We're now joined by Baylor linebacker Bryson Jackson, sick on 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Do even positions, linebackers, star, this and that, even positions attached to players anymore?
No, I think it's just the roles. So the adaptability, what players are good at what, and taking advantage. That's as far as what we do as a program. We take advantage of people's abilities and their strengths on the field, and we put those players in those roles.
There was a time last year, late in the year, maybe 2/3 of the way through the year, sitting down interviewing Dave Aranda, and I brought you up because you had made a play, and and he told me that you were, at the time, one of those coming fast and furious. Not that you weren't a part of it early. Did you feel that yourself, that as the year went on, everything clicked for you?
Absolutely, 100%. Just like I'm a role player type of guy, so. Anything that they asked me to do, I was going to do 100%. And just to be able to trust me a little bit at practice, taking those reps very seriously. So it instilled in Coach Aranda and Coach Roberts like the confidence that they needed on that field. And they were able to put me in positions to succeed. So it wasn't that I was doing anything spectacular, but it was just like they needed me to be here at this certain spot, and I was able to perform for them and succeed in that.
Reliability?
Yes, reliability.
Yeah.
How much fun was not only wrapping the season the way that you guys did with the wins, but yourself? I mean, the performance of the Sugar Bowl, getting a couple of sacks, being heavily involved. I mean, how much fun was that just to kind of end everything on that note?
Oh, man, it was exciting. Truly amazing experience. I can't even tell you to begin with, but there were so many great moments that went throughout that season. It's called kind of all a blur, really. Mm-hmm. But just, man, the weeks, the preparation that went into it, it was really emotional when it ended because there was a relationship that each guy had on that team that's forever. And it's probably going to be one of the memories that stay with me for the rest of my life is that season last year.
Yeah.
And how much we put into that.
How do you guys now turn that page? Because it's easy to fall back on what you guys just got done doing, even though it was a few months ago now. But you technically are still Big 12 champs, technically, yes. But not really anymore, right? It's a brand new team. How do you, especially as a senior leader, kind of establish that?
Giving credit to those guys last year, Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie, JT Woods, all those guys are professional levels right now. Their leadership abilities were amazing. The qualities that they had every day, how they approached and attacked the day, very admirable. So, for me, I took a lot of things from them, and I feel like, that is why that team was so great. But we have a new team now and a new culture that we have to instill in new players and new leaders. So just taking notes on how those guys approached every day and applying that to our work ethic and applying that to where we're at today now. And this summer has been a great test for us. We've been putting ourselves in a lot of chaotic situations to prepare for those game-like environments for next year. And that brings those leaders out. It shows who the natural leaders are. It shows you a little bit of the weaknesses, too. But we can fix those weaknesses in the summer. We can fix those things that might be a challenge to us this season.
What chaotic circumstances have you been in?
I'll just say like our workouts, pretty much.
Right.
Like, yeah, we're not that it's chaotic or negative, but it's just doing hard things better, and we have to learn how to do that. And if we can be in an uncontrolled environment and stay controlled mentally and still play for each other and execute, that's what we're doing as far as the workouts, like the runnings in the heat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's easy to not want to do, but How do you know if you're saying what you're talking about, moving it to a new page, turning the page? How do you know if you're doing it right? How do you know you're not just saying that?
The guys. I feel like if you go have this conversation with a younger guy in the program, that he can be able to sit down with you and explain it from the same perspective that I'm explaining it to you. I think that we all have an understanding of what needs to be done and about our culture. And really, it's more about the person, and I really support it. But we're a person over player team. Our character off the field, on the field is amazing. It's like complementary football. So we got guys on offense that are leading and getting their young guys and getting their guys up there and watching film in the summer and the off season. And same for defense. Like, it's truly amazing to see, like, during the week in the summer, Dylan Doyle after dinner every day has a group of like 10 guys with him, young guys that want to go up there and watch film. And he can reinstall the defenses, show them film tapes, and be able to coach them on a separate level without needing the coaches. So just having a player-led team, which we have right now, is how you can tell where we're going to be at next year. Because if we're not player-led and we don't have that confidence and we don't have that experience, you'll be able to tell the immaturity come game one. You'll be able to see distractions, things like penalties during the game that happen. So just taking those things seriously right now is going to help us. And you'll never know until we step out there on that field. But I'm very confident, very, very confident.
You're a 6-year guy. Was there ever much, because I remember going over the roster at the end of the year, and you knew some guys, hey, he's going to the NFL, Jalen or whatever, but was there ever much thought in your mind just as far as being a 6-year guy? Was that just an automatic, hey, you were going to come back, or did you have to kind of stew on that a little bit?
A lot of people don't know, but I'm strong on my faith, so I just, things happen, adversity happens, and I don't ever look at it as making it to the league, because if God has that for me, it will definitely happen. But I just want to be a better person. I think that this game has provided me with the platform to be the best possible version of myself. And I've been put around great leaders. Coach Aranda is such a great leader, and I can't stop explaining that enough. Just sitting down in front of him and listening to the way he thinks, like, that's the type of man or those qualities that I want to have in my life later on. So as long as I keep doing it and slowing my life down a little bit, things will unravel and things will just lay out for me. And I'm very unselfish and stuff like that. So it's fun. Those core memories with playing for your brothers and working with your brothers, those are the things that are amazing. Those are the things that stick with me. So I'm kind of addicted to it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you and Coach to understand him?
Oh man, honestly, I understood him the first day he walked into our facility. For me, it's just being mature and being able to understand, okay, this is a guy that is that he masters everything that he does. I was a supporter of the LSU defense when he was there. So just seeing him and knowing about him and knowing what he was about, with him coming there, it was like, I trust this guy. I'm a defensive player. I know that he knows what he's doing. I know now that I've seen how he talks to players, and he's a great person. And he thinks about everything that he does. So if anything, that's the guy that you want to follow. That's the guy that you want to be around. And it might be different for me. It might be a different style that I've never been used to. But for me, man, it was just obvious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just because that's not for everybody. It took maybe a year, or 5 or 6 meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you see that now? Just that, I guess you're not maybe having to work so much on the buy-in factor, perhaps now as maybe you guys had to early on.
Yeah.
Because now you got the results. I mean, last year you saw the payoff to it. Can you still, I guess, maybe younger guys, you have to kind of focus on that buying a little bit more, or how does that work?
Yeah, with the younger guys, it's just the maturity piece.
Yeah.
I think they all know and what's to be expected of them. But to get those guys to buy into the little things as far as being a great person off the field, on the field, those are the things that truly matter. Mm-hmm. And everything else will fall in place. Right. Because they're amazing. Like Coach Aranda is amazing on the whiteboard. Coach Roberts is amazing at installing defense. Offense, Coach Grimes is amazing with offense. So those are the things you don't worry about. But I just feel like, you know, when Coach Aranda's on that practice field, it's different. Because during spring, you know, when you're in position drills, Coach Aranda's going to come up to you. He's going to watch you in the position drills, and he's going to critique you. And that's the same every week. Mm-hmm. It doesn't change. He's not going to get lazy with it. You know, it's the same, and it's the intentional focus that you see that he applies to his day-to-day basis. And it rubs off. It's really contagious.
So. When did last year, because you were picked 8th in the preseason poll, this year you picked 1, you won it all. When did you know last year that you guys had something special, more than just maybe a bowl team or a team that was going to win 6 games or so?
Yeah.
When did you know?
Honestly, I knew in the summer, this time last year. This was a defining time for us last year. We were put in a hard situation as far as the conditioning and the running we do. And just seeing how the guys communicated under that stress and the type of players that we had on that team, you could literally tell and have that feeling. But to know we were going to win all that last year, we just took the games week by week. Every Sunday was a blank slate, move on to the next, do what we can better this week than we did last week. And that was the focus, because you never really knew what was going to happen. You just trusting the process every day and every day.
Wait, trusting the process. Somebody else that was a head coach there that used to say that, and not many people believed it back in the day with Coach Rule, right? I mean, it kind of carried over the transition of what his philosophy was, but just a different head coach and a different type person.
I think, trust the process is something that's automatic in life. Yeah, you just kind of got to trust that process. But, hearing Coach Aranda saying, pound the rock, that is attacking everything, because everything matters. And that's attacking every little thing 100% with 100% of focus, and being the best version of yourself in that moment. And that's kind of, it's similar, but, it has its differences and it has its understanding. But for us, it's pound the rock every day. Pound the rock in the workout, pound the rock in the film room. Coach Aranda focuses on our academics. Those guys are pounding the rock in the classroom. So, yeah.
Caleb Collins still your primary position coach?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what have you seen from him as he's, had some time now at the helm, replacing Coach McGuire? Obviously, everybody loved him, and he's doing his thing. But how have you seen Caleb or Coach Collins kind of grow here over the last few months to a year or so?
Man, Coach Collins, that's my dude. He has the intentional focus every day. I keep saying that word.
Yeah.
But
it's sinking in.
Yeah. It's honestly like he relates to us, man. He takes the meetings very seriously. The coach has been on vacation this past month, start of July. So he kind of like puts me and Garmin Randolph in a leadership position to kind of lead the meetings that we have on Tuesday and Thursdays. Mm-hmm. And, he calls us up there at like 11 a.m. in the morning. He's like, okay, I'm going to teach y'all. I'm going to record y'all. And I want y'all to go on the board and teach me the install that we're going over today. And we'll go up there and do it. Mm-hmm. And then he'll record us, and we'll rewatch it with him at like 11. And then he'll show us, and he'll make his critiques. And then he'll give us everything that we need, voiceovers, all type of things, man, to prepare us for that meeting. And then we'll go in, and we're able to teach the young guys.
Wow, that's cool.
Man, it's amazing.
That's amazing. That's very unique and very out. That seems like that's kind of outside the box a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Defending champions is great, but that doesn't matter now. Like Craig brought that up earlier.
Correct.
But it's pride. You guys have some pride. Baylor means something to you.
Absolutely.
How much does it mean to you?
It's everything. I think that what we do every day, the type of people that we're aiming to be, Coach Aranda's person over player, that stuff means a lot. So I think that you can live your life daily off of that, just let alone like going out there and being held accountable to take care of business on and off the field, whether that's in the classroom, in a relationship that you have, anything that you're dealing with in life. Just holding your teammates accountable, protecting the team. And that's what we do very well. And I think it's something that you have to admire, especially if you're in the program, all the work that you put in, as far as the workouts and everything that we do as a unit. And just seeing last year, like that, man, you have to believe in it. And our whole team believes in it. So, and I'm proud of everybody and how they've handled it. But, man, the qualities are great from what you get from what we do every day.
You know, I asked you earlier about, being a 6-year guy. And, some guys went to the NFL, some guys went to the transfer portal, some guys hung up the cleats. And you gave your side of why you're still out here doing what you're doing with Baylor. One guy that did decide to go to the portal was Gary Bohannon, and obviously he played a huge role in last year's team from not only on the field but off the field. Have you seen Blake or others kind of step into those leadership roles? Have you seen him kind of embrace that now that, he's the guy that's in that spot?
Yes, Blake is an amazing person. I was just telling him, man, like, you're so humble. He's truly authentic. Every day he steps on that field in his workouts, man, he's himself. And sometimes he'll ask you, like, he doesn't want to be in the light. He doesn't want to be that, but he is a natural leader. And when he speaks, it matters because he went through adversity last year. He came out and he brought intentional focus as a young guy to put us in great positions. So now he's being more vocal. I'm so proud of him. He's leading our offense, getting guys in on the weekends. He's throwing with receivers and creating that connection that is much needed with the quarterback in a football program, because each player can go to him and talk to him about anything, and he's going to be himself. So his work ethic is elite. His leadership qualities are going above the standard, and that's really important for our team. He's handling it all very well. Yeah.
Bryson, congratulations on what you've done, and I know you still have much more to do, not just as a football player, but as a student athlete and a person as well, like person over player. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Bryson Jackson, Baylor on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Make this a summer sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star. With special values up to $7,000 or get $1,500 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary award-winning truck gives you that first-class feel. Allen Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, we're wrapping up today's show. We're back at it again tomorrow. There's our good friend Robert Allen, who covers Oklahoma State. He's on with us quite a bit right in front of us. Station that covers a lot of TCU across the way, Texas and others, here at inside AT&T Stadium in Arlington tomorrow. 5 new teams come through. Tonight, Dave Aranda's got a speaking engagement in Las Colinas to some Baylor alums in the Dallas and Fort Worth area, and I'm sure the other coaches who are in town having their specific because of how rich and talent there is, how much talent there is in the DFW area. Zachary Hardy, thanks for the super chat. Thanks to everybody for the super chat, and we appreciate everybody for being a part of the show in any particular way. Now, earlier, Bill Hancock. Man, this cluster of the college football expansion, the playoff expansion. Remember, a year ago at this time, there should have already been the new expansion. And then there was the alliance that delayed that. It did exactly what they wanted it to do. So they're not going to do anything. It will not be changed, at least on the field, for the next 4 years. But that clock is ticking. And we had a chance to visit with Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. The executive director of the College Football Playoff with us, Bill Hancock, has been in that role since before there was the playoff. And it's been a while. Craig Smoak, David Smoak. So, when is there going to be expansion?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir.
So nice to meet you. I think we might have met one time in the past. We had a recommendation last summer, as you are aware, to expand to 12 teams. And the recommendation went out for study on campus and came back, and 3 of the conferences didn't want to do it yet. So we have 4 more years to go in the current contract. So we're in a good quiet time now where we can sit back and say, okay, let's let time go by, let things settle out a little bit, and we'll take up the conversation, I don't know when, but sometime before too long, about the future, about the possibility of expanding again.
What are those conversations like? I mean, what is it like getting down there? And obviously, everybody's got different agendas, different opinions, different what? I mean, what's the sort of the process? Can you take us through that?
You bet. This was a situation where we were talking about changing the current contract, which required the signatures of all people on the contract. So all 10 conferences, Notre Dame, all the bowl games would have to have approved the change. So I knew it was going to be a long shot to change during the current contract. The conversations are, well, these are cordial, collegial, collaborative people, these commissioners. They've been around the block. So they know how to work together. And I think they did their very best a year ago. but 3 of the conferences just said we're not ready to do it. It only took 1,
right?
And we had 3. And you may ask why the 3 wanted to not do it. Well, 1 wanted to have automatic qualification into the event for their champion. In CFP, we don't have automatic qualification. But they said we need it in the future. And I'm like, gosh, do you really? You would have been in it anyway. 1 wanted to make sure he knew how the bowls were going to be involved. And 1 just said, you know what, we got so much else going on in college sports. Let's see if we can solve those other problems before we tackle playoff expansion. And, of course, the other problems, NIL, the portal, the legal culture, those are going to be a long time before they can be solved. Those were what went into it, and it was not unprofessional conversations.
Is alliance a 4-letter word for you?
my word is everybody get at the same table and work together for the betterment of the game. Everybody.
How much do you feel like, obviously the realignment cloud's out there as well, which is monstrous, Texas OU last year, USC, UCLA now in the last week or 2. Is that part of, there's a lot going on, or was that ever really brought up when those did not sign?
It actually never came up in any of our meetings. It may have been in the back of people's minds. I don't know about that, but never was a factor.
You say it's collegial. Everyone kind of has been, they've all done this before. They've all done huge contracts, business deals, whatever. Do you feel like there's, in any way, any kind of scars among those getting back to the table because one might have been more annoyed than the other about the fact it did not go through? Because we've seen quotes that there are some people pretty upset it didn't go through.
Yeah, it was pretty tense when we came down to the white knuckle time in January in Indianapolis on the day of the championship game. It was pretty tense, and because people felt strongly on both sides. And scars, I can't imagine they're scars. These people are, like I say, they're big. They've been in this world a long time. I don't envision scars. I really don't.
Well, that's good. There shouldn't be.
It's not really a business where you can do that, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, and it's funny because people say, oh, your commissioners, they must be battling. Well, they have to turn around the next week and work together on a baseball issue or basketball. So it's not how fans would envision it being in a room like that.
And that's leads me perfectly to my next question. Fans, media, we sit from the outside and we're like, well, why can't you just get the playoff? Why can't you just get the 8 teams? Or why can't you just get all these people on the board? And I'm sure it's frustrating in y'all's position to kind of hear how easy it sounds when it's a lot more complicated than that, obviously, and there's a lot of personalities involved. What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to talk about the playoff?
Oh, so true. It's terribly complex. And in my chair, our office is here in Irving, by the way, this is right down the road. In my chair, I hear not as much, but I bet it runs 30-70 of people who say, I like this 4. I don't want to add any more teams. I'm talking about fans. But also ADs also. There's so many aspects that you have to consider. I'll give you one. Playing dates. If you expand, when do you play the first round in the quarterfinals? Do you play them in December? Probably. Well, the NFL has the Saturdays. So do you play up against the NFL? Do you play on Friday night? Not a great night for TV. But just playing dates is just one of the little things that you have to think about. Will fans travel? Do you want to make fans travel? That's why we wound up with our recommendation to have the first round games on campus.
Right.
Was let's save 4 groups of fans from having to travel so much. It's complex. But it was complex when we put the playoff together back in 2012, just like it is.
Yeah.
And we got through it. And we'll get through this too.
Bill, is there the word's not fear, a regret that college football opened up the door in December to the NFL to take over some weekends?
You know, that happened a long time ago. Actually, I used to be director of the NCAA Final Four, and it had happened back then. This is my 18th season in college football after 16 seasons with the Final Four. How lucky am I?
Awesome.
Other than you two guys, I have the best job in America.
No.
No. I mean, would we like to have it back today? Of course we would. We do have a flag planted on the Monday night for our championship game, and we don't intend to give that up. The NFL expanded the what they call the first weekend, wild card weekend.
Wild card, yeah.
They've added 2 more teams to that. They'd like to play on Monday night, but they didn't. The NFL's been really good to us as far as scheduling goes. Our game this year is in SoFi. And the NFL has always sent the team on the road. The Dolphins played on the road. Saints played on the road. Cardinals played on the road the weekend of our game. Well, this year, the NFL, get this, they have 2 teams this year. And they're like, can we send both of them on the road?
Yeah, Rams and Chargers.
Rams and Chargers.
Yeah.
And so they did a brilliant thing. What they did was, because they couldn't send, they don't like to send them both on the road for 2 weeks in a row. A brilliant thing happened. They matched the 2 of them up together.
There you go.
In the next to last week. So they're both at their home stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant thing by the NFL. So we feel really good about the NFL. They've helped us a lot.
Who is against the conference champion being... what's the philosophy that if you win a conference championship, you're not in? Is it because you're afraid there might be a 7-5 team from one weak division that wins it and knocks out somebody? But then what is the value of winning the conference championship? I'm sure you get that all the time.
I wonder if the listeners could see me nodding my head yes.
Yes. You were.
We can.
Yeah, they are, because we're on TV, yeah.
I didn't know we were on TV. There is a possibility that you could have a team on probation. You could have your number 1 team on probation and doesn't get to play. And then so you've got your number 2 team and plays a 7-5 team from the other division. I mean, that's a possibility. Remote, especially now with the NCAA, who knows what they're going to do on a lot of fronts, including probation. But that's part of it.
What about, isn't that the value of what brings excitement to the NCAA men's tournament, though? That somebody, Cinderella, can win the conference title, and that's kind of the lure of what really is the magic of that one?
Oh, it is, absolutely. In my time at the tournament, I loved it. I still love that tournament. I've been to 43 Final Fours in a row, by the way. I'm shooting for 75. But you can't, the sports are different. And you do have Cinderella for maybe a couple of rounds in the tournament.
Yeah, the first weekend, maybe. A little bit into the next one.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to the thought that when you go to name those 4 teams now, or it's the most deserving so-called resumes, if you expanded it, would the size of the fan base and how and who could travel 1, 2, or 3 weeks in a row, would that ever come into play? Should that ever even be a conversation?
No way.
Good. Shouldn't be.
No way. It's not now, and it shouldn't be, and it won't be in the future.
Bill, how much? So really, not much can happen. There's 4 years left. You have 4 years left, and there's no way it changes then because of what happened last summer.
No, I don't see it changing.
So it won't be until another 4 years, and then by then we'll know what the heck the conferences look like.
How wildly different is college football in 4 years in your mind?
Oh my goodness, who knows?
Yeah,
I know this though. There will still be the passion we have today. The Baylor fans are still going to be going to that lovely stadium, that awesome stadium. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That won't diminish. We'll still have the passion. That's what separates college football from every other sport, is the volume of passion of the fans.
Will that continue if there becomes just a higher level of who can play for the national championship? Do you think that passion could be lost?
Yeah, no, it won't. It won't. Not at our level. It won't.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your time.
You guys know each other?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett Daniels, as well. Longtime great friend in the media. Bill Hancock, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff on SICM 365 Radio. Man, there's a lot of feedback from you on the chat room about Bill Hancock and his responses and his body language and whatever else, but appreciate his time. And it's something that should have already been in place. They were going to renew the deal. It didn't happen. The Alliance stopped it, and now they try to put it back together again. Going forward, and of course the new contract is, he said the clock is ticking. They have 4 years to get it done, but you got to get it done before the 4th year. How can you do that, though, if you don't know where the conferences are, right? If, in fact, there's more changes. All right, we have so many people. Thank you to our sponsors, Three Nations Brewing. Thanks to John Royers, but everybody else that's a part of this. Thanks to Levi, to Garrett, to Emery, to Jack, to Brian, also to Grace and Craig. You enjoyed it? We're back at it tomorrow. We will get it going tomorrow with Big 12 Media Days. And tomorrow, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Iowa State, TCU, and Texas will have head coaches and others along with players. David Smoak, thank you again for watching. Thank you for those in the chat room and text line. And good night from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Have a great evening.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.